Warrior Lore. Chapter 3562. With this thought in mind, Zichun decided to take action. He released his spiritual senses, but he could not find out which one was the leader. Obviously, the leader of the team had guessed that Zichun would do this before he came here, so he hid himself. Realizing that there was no leader to kill, Zichun took a deep breath. Then, he would kill them one by one. It was not easy for the people from the other forces to come here. Killing one meant one less. Zichun did not believe that they would dare to let everyone die here because of this place. Everyone, focus on defense. Zichun's voice reverberated throughout the area as he charged forward. Riding on the immortal beast, his speed was even faster. In an instant, he arrived in front of a 6-star holy spirit and stabbed with his spear. During this time, there were 2 attacks that went straight for Zichun. However, Zichun did not dodge, and his spear did not slow down at all. Poof! The spear pierced through a 6-star holy spirit's body, and a powerful force poured into his body, destroying his life force. In the next moment, Zichun, who had 2 white marks on his body, pulled out his spear and attacked the second 6-star holy spirit. Right now, he only wanted to kill 6-star holy spirits. In the blink of an eye, several 6-star holy spirits were killed. However, more people had already rushed into the central area and fought with Zichun's team. A battle that was even more tragic than the previous one took place again. Zichun's combat power was very strong, but he was only one person. When he could not protect his subordinates, they were injured or killed. However, among them, there were some who were eye-catching. Those were the powerhouses who had activated their heavenly saint arms. Their fists were even more terrifying. Their fists that could have injured their enemies severely were now able to kill them directly. Their attacks that could have killed their enemies were now even more terrifying with the help of their heavenly saint arms. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While he was dodging and killing his enemies, Zichun was also surrounded by many 6-star holy spirits. The immortal beast he was riding on was pierced many times, and its speed gradually decreased. After a few breaths of time, the immortal beast was heavily injured. It turned into a beam of light and disappeared. Without the immortal beasts, Zichun kept his battle spear and a devil blade appeared in his hand. At the same time, a heavenly saint arm flew out and entered his right arm. Wong. The demonic saber trembled as Zichun drew his saber. A bright saber light drew a huge arc as it chopped forward. Naturally, he would not hold back. With the celestial king armor, Saint Bones, and heavenly energy saint arms, the 2 6-star saint spirits nearby were sliced in half at the waist. Several people nearby were also sent flying, suffering varying degrees of injuries. It could be said that Zichun's killing power was extremely strong. Right now, he was even willing to consume his energy to kill the enemy in front of him. At this moment, the leaders of the various groups had gathered outside the battlefield. This time, they did not truly participate in the battle. Among the dozen of them, one of them looked extremely pale. This was because Zichun had coincidentally chosen their group as the target to kill. Old Chow, don't be angry. As we have agreed before, even if all of your people die in the battle, we will still give you the biggest share of the opportunity. In addition, after we enter the depths, we will also allocate some people to you. Next to him, a person comforted him. The others also nodded. Of course, everyone was aware of Zichun's combat strength. Therefore, before they entered the battlefield, they had discussed in advance that no matter which force Zichun attacked, they would not retreat at the last minute because of the heavy losses. There will come a time when his strength is exhausted. At that time, we might be able to kill him and obtain the Celestial King armor. Another leader in the crowd said, "Everyone, don't forget the real function of the Celestial King armor. What we need to do now is to guard against Zichun decisively abandoning this place and escaping after consuming too much energy." The 6-star leader named Old Chow said, "Don't worry, our people have already arranged for the surroundings. No matter which direction Zichun runs in, there will be powerhouses to stop him." At this moment, in a relatively distant place, Hu Huanshan's people and Leijing Hongtian's people had joined forces. They could not see what was happening on the battlefield. Leijing Hongtian asked, "What's the situation now?" Hu Huanshan said with a smile, "Besieged by many forces, we have suffered heavy losses. Judging from the current situation, it is only a matter of time before we lose that area." Then, hesitation appeared on Hu Huanshan's face. He said, "Zichen's killing power is indeed strong. He can actually kill a 6-star holy spirit in an instant. However, he has consumed a lot of energy and should not be able to hold on for too long." Leijing Hongtian sneered when he heard that. No matter how strong a person is, he can't be compared with a team. This time, I want to see how he can break out of this situation. In the end, don't lose the flag territory and his life at the same time. Hu Huanshan said with a smile, "According to that guy's greedy character, he will not be willing to leave until he kills to the end. Those forces must have already spread a big net, waiting for him to break out." Zichun did not know that there were people outside waiting for him to escape because he had never thought of escaping. More than 26-star holy spirits had already died under his demonic saber. If it were any other time, these people would have been scared out of their wits. However, this was not the case this time. Each and every one of them were fearless. Under such circumstances, Zichen's individual battle prowess was extremely insignificant. His men had suffered extremely heavy casualties. If this continued, what awaited him was definitely losing the area, and everyone on the battlefield would die in battle. They had come here for the opportunity. They couldn't just walk here and go back home directly. He had to think of a way to break out of this situation. However, at present, with his many powerful means, they could only be of great use in a one-on-one situation. In this kind of group battle, they were helpless. Was he going to lose just like that? Zichun was full of unwillingness. He would not forget the excited expressions of those people when they saw him earlier. Obviously, everyone thought that following him would be able to gain great benefits and make great contributions. Naturally, they were full of confidence in Zichun. At present, no matter how badly injured they were still fighting bravely without flinching until they died in battle. Looking at everyone who was not afraid of death, how could Zichun bear to let them rejoice in vain and gain nothing? However, how could he break out of this situation? At this critical moment, a bright light suddenly flashed through his mind, as if a dense fog was spreading. A holy talisman that he had been comprehending for a long time, but had not made any progress, appeared in his mind. Roar of Thunder's fury. I did not succeed before. Perhaps there was a problem with my way of thinking. What if I try to comprehend it in a different way? The light flashed in his mind, and Zichen's figure suddenly shot up into the sky. He abandoned all his enemies. Is he running away? Many people's eyes lit up, and they immediately sent a message to their leader. Standing in the air, a blank holy talisman paper appeared in front of Zichun, and a holy talisman brush appeared in his hand. The talisman paper was 4-star. Chapter 3563. Of course, Zichun wouldn't run away. He couldn't abandon these people who trusted him so much. In his mind, the Raging Thunder talisman appeared. He had been studying this talisman for a long time, but he hadn't been able to learn it. Now that everyone was in danger, he decided to use a different method. The tip of the brush glowed, and Zichun started to write. However, as soon as he started to write, the talisman shattered. He had failed. Zichun wasn't upset. Instead, there was a hint of joy in his eyes. Previously, he hadn't even been able to write. Now that he was able to put pen to paper, it meant that he had a flash of inspiration earlier. His method was indeed correct. The Raging Thunder talisman from the Leijing family wasn't a powerful offensive skill, but a supportive skill. It was like the heavenly energy saint arm, but there were some differences. Below, many saint spirits looked at Zichun in confusion. They didn't understand what he was doing. Zichun's saint talisman master level was already on par with them. This was already impressive. However, he was still a 4-star saint. Under such circumstances, even if he could write a shocking talisman, it would only be a grade 4 saint. Under such circumstances, how could he expect a grade 4 saint talisman to turn the tables? That was impossible. The weakest among them was a 5-star saint spirit. An ordinary grade 4 saint talisman wouldn't be able to do anything to them. Lei Lan, who was on the battlefield, couldn't understand Zichun's actions. Only a 7-star Saint Talisman Master, or above, could change one's fate with a Saint Talisman Master. Haha, your leader can't hold on any longer. He's preparing to write a talisman and escape. Is this a teleportation talisman? Just as everyone noticed Zichen's actions, mocking laughter could be heard from the crowd. Obviously, this statement had received a great deal of approval. Get ready. Zichen is preparing to use a teleportation talisman to escape. Get ready to capture him. At the outermost perimeter, the group of leaders had already made their next move. Haha, Zichen can't hold on any longer. He's going to escape. Everyone's hearts are scattered. When Hu Huanshan saw the message from his subordinate, he smiled proudly. Zichen, I didn't think that you would have such a day. Leijing Hongtian also laughed, his face full of pride. Zichen was still drawing talismans and retreating. However, the number of strokes he made increased with each stroke. Faced with the mockery from all around, as well as the gradual loss of morale on his side, he did not make any response. Because he had to concentrate on drawing talismans, the furious roar of thunder was even harder to comprehend than the ghost spirit. It was definitely extraordinary. Once he was distracted, he would definitely fail. Hold on, everyone. Zichen will never abandon us and leave on his own. Although Lei Lan didn't understand Zichen's actions, she still shouted loudly, hoping to increase her popularity. If he wasn't planning on abandoning us, why didn't he continue to fight? Why did he draw talismans instead? Someone suddenly questioned. It was a 5-star holy spirit from the Holy Thunder clan. He must be preparing something. Lei Lan said anxiously. Prepare a backup plan? A mere holy talisman? Another voice sounded. He's only a 4-star holy spirit. Can a mere holy talisman save us? However, a teleportation array can save his life. Nonsense. Zichen is not that kind of person. Lei Lan was furious. Whether it's nonsense or not, everyone knows in their hearts. I say, everyone. He wants us to fight to the death here, but he wants to escape. Why should we follow such a person? Someone in the crowd spoke again. This time, it was not a 5-star holy spirit, but a 6-star holy spirit. Their already low morale became even lower because of the few words spoken by the crowd. The original battle also stopped at that moment. Because their leader was about to escape, what was the point of continuing to fight? The holy spirits of other forces on the periphery looked at them mockingly. So what if the Holy Thunder clan was one of the 4 great holy clans? Didn't they lose all their morale after being beaten by us? Everyone, what's the point of our battle? Fighting for a person who's about to escape? A 6-star holy spirit walked out and said, this time, we've already suffered heavy losses. Are we going to be wiped out? Stop. Let's end this meaningless battle. Turner, shut up. We're from the Holy Thunder clan. We can only fight to the death. We can't retreat. A 6-star holy spirit said angrily, you want us to admit defeat? Absolutely impossible. Leibai, no one is afraid of death. None of us from the Holy Thunder clan are afraid of death, but our deaths have to be worth it. The 6-star holy spirit named Turner said, we have to die with dignity. We have to fight to the death with those immortals, not with these people. More so, we can't die for Zichen, because he's planning to abandon us and escape. He's a coward. At that moment, everyone's attention was on the internal conflict of the Holy Thunder clan. On the other hand, not many people were paying attention to Zichen, because if he wanted to escape, no one could stop him. Moreover, his true opponent was also in the periphery, not here. Many people even hoped that Zichen would leave as soon as possible. Everyone had a mocking look on their faces. Through this battle, the legend of the Holy Thunder clan had undoubtedly been shattered. Regardless of whether it's worth it or not, I'll never surrender, because I'm from the Holy Thunder clan. We have integrity. We can only fight to the death. We'll never retreat. The 6-star holy spirit named Leibai said indifferently, everyone, this is the last battle. Who's going to follow me? Me. Me too. Regardless of whether we should fight this battle or not, since we've already fought, we'll never retreat. We were born as members of the Holy Thunder clan. Even if we die, we'll still be the souls of the Holy Thunder clan. There were quite a few holy spirits who agreed. They then walked forward, their expressions resolute. Especially Labai, who had been fighting a bloody battle earlier and had consumed a lot of energy. But now, he took the initiative to walk forward. This was considered to be a generous death. It was just that when he walked forward, he had an illusion that his steps were much lighter. Could it be because I'm a generous death? Even my condition seems to be better. Labai took a deep breath. Since my potential has been stimulated before I die, then I'll fight to the death. But this time, when his voice fell, no one agreed. Instead, there were many exclamations. He also turned around when he heard the exclamations, and then saw that everyone was looking up at the sky. There was doubt in Labai's eyes, and he also looked up. He saw that there were countless light spots floating in the sky. These light spots seemed to be formed by countless thunderbolts, and they were coming down. Labai realized that these light spots were thunderbolts. These drifting thunderbolts, when falling, actively changed their direction and then entered the bodies of some people. It was unknown whether it was a coincidence or not, but these people were all members of the Holy Thunder Clan. In the sky, Zichen exhaled heavily. A holy talisman floated in front of him. At this moment, the holy talisman was pouring pure holy thunder power, like a thunderstorm. The talisman was formed. Chapter 3564. The rain of lightning entered their bodies and healed some of their injuries, as well as some of their energy consumption. Only then did Labai realize that it wasn't him who had activated his potential, but the rain of lightning. At the end of the rain of light was a holy talisman. Looking at the holy talisman that was constantly spewing out rain of light, Labai said excitedly, "I knew it. No one in the Holy Thunder Clan is afraid of death." He was very excited, because it proved that his choice was right. Cheers sounded. Those who were willing to die with Labai had also made the right choice. There were also some who looked ashamed. For a moment, he also thought that the leader was going to run away. As for those who were cheering, they were dumbfounded. They didn't expect it to turn out like this. I said before, no one is really afraid of death, but what's the point of our battle? The 6-star turner said, "Are we still counting on this 4-star holy talisman to save us?" At this moment, Zichen's voice sounded. "A holy talisman indeed can't save everyone." Turner laughed and was about to say something. "But we are fighting to nurture our Holy Thunder Clan. Even without this holy talisman, we still have the meaning of fighting." Zichen said in a deep voice, "Because we are from the Holy Thunder Clan. We are one of the 4 holy clans. Our ancestors used countless battles of blood and fire to tell the world that our Holy Thunder Clan is one of the strongest clans in the Holy Spirit realm. On the battlefield with the enemy, we will only fight to the death, not be scared away." Good. Cheers could be heard from the crowd. The previously low morale of the crowd rose once again. Turner looked at Zichen and said, "This is a meaningless battle. You are sending everyone to their deaths. We have more important things to do, and not die here." Zichen smiled faintly and said, "Maybe, but I will stay here today. Even if I die in battle, I am willing to. If you are willing to leave, then go and do your big thing. Fight to the death. We are the great Holy Thunder Clan. Why would we be afraid of a group of small fries?" The morale of the crowd was high, and they kept shouting. Obviously, there were many people who were not afraid of death. Zichen glanced at Turner and sneered. Then, his eyes swept across the crowd. "Besides, who said we would die here?" In front of him, another blank holy rune appeared. Zichen held unfathomable and began to draw runes. His movements were extremely fast, and every single saint talisman was completed in one go. Once these holy runes were formed, they would automatically release a rain of lightning, which would fall down and converge into the bodies of the Holy Thunder Clan Holy Spirits. 1, 2, 3, 5. More and more of them appeared. As the number of Holy Thunder talismans increased, the space around Zichen became extremely chaotic. Vaguely, there seemed to be a terrifying aura brewing. "Not good. Stop him." Someone saw that the situation was not good and shouted loudly. Labai shouted, "Clansmen who are not afraid of death, block them." As countless light spots entered their bodies, everyone's injuries and exhaustion recovered a lot. Those who had lost the ability to fight previously regained their combat strength. Coupled with the high morale, The powerhouses of the Holy Thunder clan erupted in an instant and displayed unparalleled strength. Zichun was still drawing runes, and his speed was getting faster and faster. These holy runes that appeared flew into the distorted space on their own. After the 10th holy rune was completed, Zichun quickly retreated. The space where he was originally standing was crazily distorted. The 10 holy runes began to surge, and then thunderclouds appeared. Boom! Thunder rumbled and was deafening. The 10 holy runes disappeared, and thunderclouds covered the sky. This is the roar of thunder's fury. A smile appeared on Zichun's face, and he continued to draw the 11th holy rune. In the thunderclouds, lightning surged, and the world darkened. Then, a loud thunder sounded, and a bolt of lightning broke through the thunderclouds, illuminating the dark world. The lightning seemed to be real, and it shattered in the sky, turning into more lightning rain. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder rumbled, and lightning constantly broke through the clouds, like thunder dragons descending from the sky and disintegrating from the world. It left behind countless thunderbolts that filled the area, providing strength to all the members of the Holy Thunder Clan. For the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan, these thunderbolts were comparable to high-quality elixirs. But for those enemies, the thunderbolts that filled the area were countless tiny attacks, which were very troublesome. Zichun was still drawing runes, and the talisman paper was automatically drawn into the thunderclouds. As the holy runes overlapped, the thunderclouds began to expand, and the area it filled became larger and larger. All the sacred spirits of the Sacred Thunder Tribe were cheering excitedly. This was because the thunderclouds contained countless vitality. Under such circumstances, they all had a feeling that they would never die. Their injuries were recovering quickly. Their exhaustion was also recovering quickly. Their battle prowess was naturally increasing as well. Hearing these cheers, a smile appeared on the pale Zichun's face. Several thunder dragons broke through the clouds, let out dragon roars, and then disintegrated. Under such circumstances, it was as if there were thunderbolts roaring angrily. At this critical moment, the furious roar of thunder saved everyone. And this furious roar of thunder came from the Lezhang family. At this moment, in addition to thanking the Lezhang family, Zichun also wanted to thank those guys who took advantage of the chaos to cause trouble. Those people succeeded in buying time for him, reducing the number of casualties. Of course, Zichun would only thank them in his heart and would not act on it. If he guessed correctly, those people should be Hu Huanshan's people. They were also the ones who sent Hu Huanshan the information. And compared to the other holy spirits who were fighting a bloody battle, they obviously did not contribute much. Thunder rumbled. With the assistance of the thunderbolts, the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan fought more and more bravely. On the other hand, it was the enemy that was greatly suppressed in this area. The situation of the battle was gradually changing. However, this required Zichun to keep drawing talismans to keep the furious roar of thunder in place. After all, the number of enemies far exceeded that of Zichun's side. Zichun's consumption was getting greater and greater, but he did not care at all. Although the Holy Thunder Clan had lost him, their strongest combat power, the furious roar of thunder, increased everyone's combat power, vitality, and recovery by a level. Everyone, hold on. The final victory is still ours. Because Zichun can't hold on any longer. Cheers came from the crowd. Zichun said with a smile, I can't hold on any longer, but can you guarantee that you can hold on? Of course we can hold on, because we have more people. When you can't draw talismans anymore, it will be the time of your death. A cold voice came from below. Zichun said with a smile, Is that so? In terms of numbers, can you beat the Holy Thunder Clan? Boom. A huge tremor came from the horizon, and terrifying thunderbolts surged. Then, countless bolts of lightning appeared in all directions. It was like an even bigger encirclement, encircling everyone. A red figure, like a red thunderbolt, rushed to the front. At the same time, a cold voice sounded, Leave no one alive. Chapter 3565. They're finally here. Seeing that beautiful red figure, a smile appeared on Zichun's face. Even though his face was already as pale as paper and his consumption had reached its limit, The furious roar of thunder could only temporarily relieve the situation because the number of enemies was indeed large. However, Zichun had always believed that after such a big thing had happened, the army of the Holy Thunder Clan stationed in the camp would come to his rescue in time. They had indeed come, although it was a little later than Zichun had imagined. But it was still in time. The huge encirclement began to close in. Lei Wushuang was the first to rush over. Zichun noticed that the immortal armor on her body was covered in blood, as if she had been through a great battle earlier. Wherever she passed, the holy spirits from other clans were sent flying one after another. The original encirclement was instantly torn open by her. Seeing this scene, the holy spirits of other forces were terrified. Knowing that they had lost, they began to retreat one after another. However, they were surrounded by the people of the Holy Thunder Clan, and they had no way to retreat. So they began to beg for mercy. However, Lei Wushuang only said one sentence, "Kill without mercy." Obviously, this violent female core did not intend to let anyone here go. This could be considered as killing one to warn 100, and killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Turner and those who had been heckling earlier were also fighting very hard at this moment. However, compared to the other excited people, there was obvious worry in their eyes. After the encirclement closed, this battle was nearing its end. Zichun, who had consumed a lot of energy, no longer continued to draw talismans. Instead, he stood in the air and watched the battle in the field. All the people of the Holy Thunder Clan who came and felt the impact of the thunder rain. All of them were very surprised, and there was curiosity in their eyes, as if they were looking at something new. Lei Wushuang flew to Zichun's side and patted him on the shoulder. Like a big sister, she said, "Well done." Zichun smiled faintly and asked, "Did you encounter trouble when you came?" "It's not trouble. I just wiped out all those guys outside while I was at it. How dare they have designs on our Holy Thunder Clan? They're simply courting death." Lei Wushuang proudly said, "Next, let their forces cry. Let the other forces see that this is the consequence of finding trouble with the Holy Thunder Clan." At this moment, the people below were cleaning up the battlefield. Lei Wushuang waved his hand and said, "Everyone, back off. Leave the battlefield to them." Even if a dead divine spirit did not have a spirit ring, its body could still crystallize. That was a high-quality Saint Crystal, which was a resource in and of itself. Lei Wushuang's action was naturally giving away all the spoils of war. Zichun didn't refuse because this was what his subordinates deserved. But before that, he needed to solve some internal problems. His figure descended from the sky as he said, "Tina, take your men and leave at once. I won't hold you responsible for what happened before. I will give you all the contribution points that you deserve." Turner's heart trembled. He looked back at Zichun and said firmly, "Why are you driving me away?" Zichun looked at him and said, "You don't know the reason?" Tina coldly snorted and said, "We contributed and killed all the enemies. Now that you have no use for us, you want to drive us away?" Zichun smiled faintly and said, "You don't have to deliberately say the word we. It's just that those guys who disturbed the morale of the army are not all of you." "Disturbed the morale of the army?" "I'm telling the truth," Tina said coldly. "Let's just say that you're telling the truth." The smile on Zichun's face suddenly disappeared. The next moment, his body disappeared into thin air. When he reappeared, he was already beside Tina. With a loud bang, Tina's body flew backward. As he flew backward, the spirit ring was in Zichun's hand. "Zichun, what are you doing?" Tina stared coldly at Zichun. "As the leader, you failed to drive people away, and now you want to snatch my things? Do you want to disappoint everyone?" Zichun smiled and said, "What do you have that's worth me snatching? I'm just very confused. Why did Hu Huanshan come in time, every time we found a place to plant the flag?" Hearing Zichun's words, the expressions of the Holy Spirits changed, because what happened before seemed to be too much of a coincidence. Just as Lei Lan discovered something, Hu Huanshan's flag was inserted into the ground behind them. At first, they felt that there was something wrong. Now, they seemed to have guessed the reason. In an instant, the way everyone looked at Turner had changed. "Zichun, you're just blaming me for not being on your side before. Why do you have to come up with such an excuse now? You have no right to take my spirit ring." Give it back to me now. Tina moved forward, ready to take the spirit ring again. At this moment, a strong, oppressive aura descended from the sky and fell on Tina. It was Lei Wuxiang who made a move. Tina's expression changed drastically. He did not expect Lei Wuxiang to be so powerful. Lei Wuxiang landed and said coldly, "Investigate this matter. Whoever is at fault will be punished." Zichen's body glowed as he forcibly erased Tina's spirit ring. Then, he took out a communication bead and said indifferently, "You guys didn't use your full strength in the battle before, so I won't hold it against you. However, you colluded with Hu Huanshan, which caused everyone to be unable to gain anything after so long. This is unforgivable." There were traces in the communication bead that could be checked with spiritual thoughts. Zichun handed the communication bead to Lei Wuxiang. The faces of the people from before turned pale in an instant, and there was panic in their eyes. The holy spirits, who had been sympathetic to them, now had extremely cold looks in their eyes. Thinking back to the previous battle, they seemed to have been avoiding the battle, and the killing was not fierce. Lei Wuxiang's spiritual thoughts swept over them, and there was anger in her eyes. She looked back at Zichun and said, "You have the final say on how to deal with them." Zichen's gaze swept over them and said coldly, "Actually, even if you colluded with Hu Huanshan, it's nothing. It's fine if you didn't use your full strength in the battle. However, you shouldn't have watched your comrades die in front of you without doing anything. People like you who ignore the lives of your comrades don't deserve to stay in my team. And these 3 heavenly energy saint arms, you don't deserve to have them." Zichun had 3 more saint talismans in his hand. He had given them to Tina to use in the battle, but Tina did not use any of them. Obviously, he did not use his full strength. "Nonsense, we have been fighting with our lives on the line," Tina said loudly, unwilling to be expelled just like that. "Now, I announce that I will take away all of your contributions and expel you from my team." Zichun said coldly. "Zichun, you are so cruel." Tina's face changed, and so did the people who followed him. Hu Huanshan had not gained anything until now, but they had followed Zichun. In addition to the first merit, they had also conquered a territory, and their contributions were not small. But now, they were being expelled just like that. "You should thank me for not executing you on the spot for disturbing the morale of the troops." Zichen's eyes were cold, and he said coldly, "Now, go back to your master." After saying that, he waved his sleeves, and a strong hurricane appeared, sweeping everyone's bodies away. "If you dare to appear in my territory again, I will kill you without mercy." At the same time, Zichen's warning was heard, full of killing intent. Chapter 3566. A group of holy spirits began to clean up the battlefield. Many of their companions had died in the battle this time. Those who survived were very fortunate, but they were also angry. He was angry at Turner and also angry at Hu Huanshan. These holy spirits all had families behind them, big or small. Once they bore a grudge against them, the Hu family would not have an easy time after this trial ended. Calculate the identities of the dead and give them 3 times the contribution reward. Zichen's voice sounded again. Those who were alive still had the possibility of getting contribution points, but those who were dead had lost this qualification. I will also report this matter to the Holy Thunder Clan. When this matter is over, whether it is those people from before or Hu Huanshan, the Holy Thunder Clan will give you an explanation, Lei Wuxiang said. This was also what Lei Wuxiang had told him before he came. "How is the camp?" Zichen asked. Lei Wuxiang said, "It has been defended. When the teleportation formation is built and the bloodline ancestor is there, Lei Wuxiang can go out and fight." "Bloodline ancestor?" Zichen heard this and said with a strange expression, "Can he defend it?" Lei Wuxiang rolled his eyes and said, "He is one of the patriarchs of the Holy Thunder Clan. How can he not defend that place? Don't underestimate the bloodline ancestor. Just the fact that he is the only holy venerate in this place is enough to see that he is extraordinary." Zichen nodded, but he still had his own opinion in his heart. On the outer planet, the bloodline ancestor sneezed a few times and then cursed. "Which little bastard is talking bad about me behind my back? He must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts." According to the original rules, they still had to wait for a day. So Ziqian began to recover. Lei Wushuang did not leave immediately, but led people to patrol the surroundings. When Hu Huanshan learned that the reinforcements had arrived and all the enemies had been wiped out, his vision turned black and he almost fainted. This time, the plan that he had thought to be perfect had fallen short of success just like that. In this way, he, who had wasted the 6th Dao flag, gained nothing this time. Behind him, the morale of the holy spirits who were following him had dropped significantly. These damned reinforcements, how did they get here so quickly? Hu Huanshan cursed. And after seeing the dejected Turner's group, his mood was even worse. This time, no one gained anything. Turner and the others felt very wronged and very angry because they should have been able to get contribution points this time. And there were many of them. Now, he had nothing. Looking at the low morale, Hu Huanshan comforted them. Don't worry, everyone. We still have 4 flags. We just need to be careful. As long as we can snatch a piece of land from Zichun, we'll make a huge profit. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard this. Clearly, Hu Huanshan meant that there were still people in Zichun's team. In another direction, Leijing Hongtian, who had learned of the arrival of reinforcements, unwillingly retreated. Zichun, this isn't over yet. After Zichun recovered, many people from the Holy Thunder clan came. They were all professionals in exploration. Obviously, they would go all out to mine this place. This was because the outer planets had been successfully occupied and belonged exclusively to the Holy Thunder clan. But this place was different, so they would mainly mine resources here. Of course, during this period, the Holy Thunder clan would still send people over continuously. This area was currently the most important. What holy talisman did you use just now? Seeing that Ziqian had fully recovered, Lei Wushuang asked the question in her heart. Based on Ziqin's small number of people, the thundercloud played a huge role in stopping the encirclement of many forces. Thunder Fury, a 4-star holy talisman technique. Zichun told Lei Wushuang how he obtained the Thunder Fury, which made her slightly stunned. In the end, Lei Wushuang sighed. I didn't believe in karma at first, but now I do. With her means, of course, she knew that Leijing Hongtian was behind Hu Huanshan. And this time, it was the Leijing family's Thunder Fury that came to the rescue. Is there a limit to the use of your holy talisman? Lei Wushuang asked. There is no limit. 1 can be used, but the effect is not great. 10 can be used in a group and have a supportive effect. It's like a territory, Zichun said after thinking for a while. Do you still want to contribute? Lei Wushuang looked at Zichun. A contribution that belongs to you alone? Zichun looked at Lei Wushuang with a strange expression. Why? Is there a problem? Lei Wushuang's expression was a little unnatural. I thought you wouldn't care about this kind of thing, Zichun said honestly. Lei Wushuang was immediately angry. She stood up and said, What, in Zichun's eyes, am I someone who only knows how to fight and doesn't know how to use my brain? I didn't say that. Zichun spread his hands. How dare you look down on me, Zichun? Do you want me to play a few moves with you? Lei Wushuang clenched her fists and began to circulate her aura. Zichun quickly begged for mercy. I admit defeat. Miss Wushuang, you have unparalleled combat power. How would I dare to fight with you? Bah, you're such a glib talker. Lei Wushuang retracted her fists and blushed. After a while, she said, You really don't want this contribution? Why wouldn't I want a contribution that comes to me for free? Zichun said, I just don't know. How do you plan to give it to me? This time, we have the right to distribute extra contributions. So, I plan to give you an extra contribution in exchange for the Thunder Fury. What's an extra contribution? Zichun asked. It's a special contribution. Lei Wushuang explained. For example, you and Lei Lan will get a special contribution after conquering this area. However, there are big and small differences in special contributions as well. It depends on how much you contribute to the Holy Thunder clan. For example, if your holy talisman helps multiple teams to defend successfully, then your contribution will stack up and the special contribution that belongs to you will naturally get the biggest share. Don't underestimate these special contributions. They will definitely tempt many holy spirits. Since it was so simple and clear, Zichun naturally understood. His holy talisman was no longer used to exchange for a fixed amount of contribution. Instead, it depended on how useful it was. If it was very useful, the contribution would be huge. Otherwise, the contribution would be very small. In this way, he would have a limitless future. Zichen thought for a while and said, "How about this? You provide me with holy talisman papers, and I will not only give you the Thunder Fury for free, but I will also give you the heavenly Saint Arm. It can be very useful for those with strong physical bodies. Here are 1,000 fourth-grade holy talisman papers. You can use them first. I will give you more if it's not enough." Lei Wuxiang smiled. Obviously, she had been prepared. Zichun was slightly taken aback. He felt like he had been tricked. However, this time, his team had suffered great losses, and many of them were seriously injured. Under such circumstances, Zichun could not advance in time. Therefore, he began to draw talismans to accumulate contribution points for himself. Chapter 3567. The surrounding immortal beasts surrounded Zichun, and there were more than 10 of them. Their auras were strong, and each of them was equivalent to a 5-star sacred spirit. Some were even stronger. Zichun stood in the air with a defense talisman array above his head. He stood in the middle of the talisman array and drew talismans. He turned a blind eye to the immortal beasts attacking him. The defense talisman array blocked the auras of the immortal beasts and prevented them from affecting his talisman drawing. The immortal beasts were getting closer and closer to Zichun. Just as they were about to hit the defense talisman array, dozens of black sacred talismans suddenly flew out from Zichun's surroundings. These sacred talismans were in groups of 3. They left the range of the talisman array and flew in all directions. They were all ghost sacred talismans. These ghost sacred talismans instantly shattered, and palm-sized ghost spirits appeared. They formed a ghost sacred talisman array and entered the bodies of the surrounding immortal beasts. In the next moment, the immortal beasts struggled. Their eyes were filled with fear as they rolled in the sky. Their bodies disintegrated, and immortal stones the size of a human head appeared around Zichun. At a glance, there were more than 100 immortal stones. When the immortal beasts died, their soul lights flew back and restored the soul power that Zichun had used to draw talismans. He, who was originally writing Thunder of Fury, immediately changed to Ghost Sacred Talismans. After he finished writing 81 Ghost Sacred Talismans, Zichun continued to write Thunder of Fury. Under such circumstances, Zichun could ensure that his soul power was always in a strong state, so he could continue to write sacred talismans. At this time, this area was still equivalent to the periphery. There were not many teams like Zichun who continued to stay in the periphery. A few days later, Zichun had completed 1,000 roars of thunder, and the number of celestial stones floating around him had already reached several hundred. "You're not taking so many high-quality immortal stones. Aren't you worried that someone will come and rob you?" A faint laugh sounded. It was Lei Wuxiang, who had just left the camp. Zichun put away the sacred talisman brush and said, "You came at the right time. These 1,000 Thunder of Fury should be able to help many of our people." 1,000 saint talismans flew toward Lei Wuxiang. At the same time, Zichun waved his sleeve, and the surrounding high-quality celestial stones disappeared one after another. They were all put away by Zichun. "Thank you very much." Lei Wuxiang clasped his fists in thanks, then looked at Zichun, who was already showing signs of exhaustion, and said, "As for the heavenly energy saint arms, I have brought some from the tribe, and from the looks of it, it should be enough for a while." Zichun nodded. He had continuously written 1,000 furious thunder roars and many ghost spirit saint talismans. He had consumed a lot of energy and was mentally exhausted. He needed to rest. "I want to see your people earlier. They've mostly recovered. Speaking of which, the competition in the depths is very fierce. Do you want me to send you some more people?" In the last battle, Zichun's side had suffered heavy losses, losing nearly half of their men. However, it was proven that the sacrifice was worth it. There was a huge mineral vein in the depths of the region, and it could be said to be rich in resources. "No need. We'll be more careful in the future. If we really can't do it, we'll ask others for help." Zichun rejected Lei Wuxiang's suggestion. This was because with the outbreak of the battle, all sides needed experts. If Zichen's side were to be sent reinforcements, the other teams would not feel comfortable knowing about it, because losing people was happening all the time, and as long as Lei Wuxing's army existed, it would be a huge deterrent to the other forces. It was worth mentioning that the forces that had targeted Zichen a few days ago were all killed by Lei Wuxuang, causing them to suffer heavy losses. Therefore, in the following large-scale battles, all the forces gradually restrained themselves. Often, the end of the battle would be a negotiation. Such a battle where one side was completely wiped out never happened again. Zichen returned to his original base. The mining work had already begun, and those who had been seriously injured had all recovered. In this place, the resources that they received were naturally the best. With the appearance of Zichen, the eyes of the holy spirits became fervent. Obviously, Zichen's arrival meant that the team was going to continue to go deeper. This time, they had received many contributions and tasted the sweetness of it. Naturally, they were eager to go deeper. Speaking of which, such an opportunity had probably not come by in hundreds of thousands of years. Zichen, who looked exhausted, announced that they would rest for a day and set off the next day. There were cheers all around. That night, Zichen did not cultivate. He just slept. This was rare. The next day, after he had fully recovered, Zichen led the team and went straight into the depths. This time, the number of people was only half of the previous time. As for the base that they had conquered, it was all handed over to the people who came later. They would take care of it from now on. Even if they lost it, it would have nothing to do with Zichen and the others. The team began to set off. Zichen and Lei Lan walked at the front, and the others followed behind. In another area, Hu Huanshan, who had been waiting for a long time, finally received the news that Zichen was going forward. Zichen, this time, I don't need too much. Just a piece of land is enough. So, you'd better perform well. They had only obtained a single piece of land. Although their gains were not that great, the advantage was that they had gained something. Naturally, there were fewer complaints in their hearts. Of course, if they could obtain a valuable piece of land, it would be an unexpected surprise for him. While they were moving forward, Lei Lan said, "We are the last team to go deeper. Almost all the areas here have been turned over. It won't be easy to find a suitable place for resources." Zichen said, "In that case, let's speed up. Also, there are only 6 flags left. We can't waste them. This time, we have to make sure that everyone's contributions are maximized." Obviously, Zichen did not intend to release the flags unless they encountered some special places. The two of them did not lower their voices, so the group of saint spirits behind them could clearly hear their conversation. This caused many of them to have a look of joy in their eyes. In this way, perhaps their team would be the one with the biggest gains this time. In the next few days, the team clearly moved forward. During this time, they occasionally saw flags planted by some forces, but they did not go over to fight. During this time, Lei Lan carefully sensed and found that there were resources of different sizes in some of the occupied areas. It seemed that there were many professionals among the major forces that came this time. Relatively speaking, there were very few people like Hu Huanshan who did not gain anything. Chapter 3568. Lei Lan pointed at the land under her feet and said, "There should be opportunities here." "Should?" Zichen was puzzled when he heard that. "Are you not sure?" "I can't be sure. I feel that there's a mysterious energy here that's affecting my senses." Lei Lan looked around and said, "Send some people to guard this place. I'll go to other places to take a look. Maybe we'll find something else." Zichen arranged for 5 people to stay here. 2 of them were 6 stars, while the remaining 3 were 5 stars. Then, the team continued to move forward and stopped about 3,000 miles away. "How is it?" Zichen looked at Lei Lan. "This time, my senses are clearer. There's definitely an opportunity underground." Lei Lan said, "However, I keep feeling that these 2 places have some kind of connection with each other. Or rather, in this area, they're both different. Send a few more people to guard this place. Lei Bai, you stay here too. This is a command flag. When you hear my order, you'll plant the flag here." Zichen trusted Lei Bai very much. He was a 6-star, and he was the first leader to say that he wanted to die in battle. Lei Bai took the command flag, turned around and said, "Who's willing to stay?" Immediately, a few people took the initiative to step forward and stood behind Lei Bai. "Let's go. We'll continue to the next place." Next, the team approached in another direction. That was the third place that Lei Lan saw. After stopping here, Lei Lan sensed for a full 15 minutes. When she opened her eyes, there was excitement in them. She said, "It's here. When these three places are connected, it's a land of great opportunities." A light flashed in Zichen's hand, and the command flag appeared. At the same time, he ordered, "Send a message to Lei Bai. Tell him to put down the command flag." However, as soon as he finished speaking, a flash of lightning appeared in the team. "I'm sorry, Master Zichen. You're still a little too late." He saw a 6-star saint spirit with a faint smile on his face. Beneath his feet, a flag was expanding. "Chester, what are you doing?" The 6-star holy spirit shouted angrily. In an instant, the temperature in the surroundings plummeted. Everyone's eyes were filled with killing intent. "Everyone, please don't be angry. You should know that I'm also a member of the Holy Thunder Clan." Stet smiled proudly and took out his communication bead. After reading the contents, the pride on his face became even stronger. "Yes, the two of them have also succeeded. Looks like our luck is pretty good this time." Zichen stared at him coldly. Stefan laughed. "I know what you're going to say. Depriving us of all our contributions? After we have this place, we don't need it anymore." At this moment, a ray of light flew over from afar. The leader was Levi. Levi's face was very ugly, but more than that, it was filled with guilt. "My lord." The flag in his hand was the same one that Zichen had given him before. Obviously, someone else had beaten him to it. Zichen took the command flag, looked at the guilty Lei Bai, and comforted him. "It's okay. This world is so big. There are always other opportunities. Moreover, these guys have used 3 command flags this time. There's only one left. They won't be able to make any big waves. If you're worried about the number of command flags I have, then I'm sorry to tell you that I still have many of these command flags." A faint laugh came from the horizon. Hu Huanshan led his people and flew over. This time, his face was full of pride. The people behind him also had smiles on their faces. Especially the people who were chased away by Zichen, their faces were full of pride. Using such despicable means, even if you get the opportunity, it's not your true ability. Lei Lan said angrily. Hu Huanshan smiled coldly and said, "Little girl, you're still too inexperienced. So what if you don't have the ability? Isn't it fine if you have the luck?" Then, he looked at Zichen and said, "Oh, I almost forgot. In this situation, I have to defend with all my strength, right?" "Oh right, Zichen, why don't you give me a hand and bring people to defend in advance? When it's done, I'll give you some shares." Obviously, this was what Zichen asked someone to say to Hu Huanshan. Now, Hu Huanshan used it on Zichen. In Zichen's team, all the holy spirits stared coldly at Hu Huanshan, their eyes full of anger. Zichen said indifferently, "Everyone, follow me and leave, full speed." After saying that, Zichen turned and left. "Haha, I won't see you off." Hu Huanshan's laughter sounded again. "This won't happen again." Zichen's cold voice was filled with endless killing intent. The other holy spirits were extremely unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. The Holy Thunder Clan was not allowed to start a war. After they were far away, Lei Lan said telepathically, "Is this really okay? There's nothing wrong with it. At least these flies won't come for a while." Just after Zichen's team left, Leijin Hongtian came. Looking at Hu Huanshan, who was very proud, he also laughed. Obviously, Zichen had really suffered a big loss this time. Did he get cheated again? Leijin Hongtian was a little worried. Hu Huanshan said proudly, "How is that possible?" This time, that guy called Lei Lan thought about it for a long time before he made up his mind. Moreover, Zichen is very cautious and has already checked the surroundings to make sure there are no pursuers. Even if he was on guard, he would never have thought that I would give them the flag in advance. Leijin Hongtian nodded and said with relief, "Next, prepare to defend." "Don't worry, the big forces have already entered the depths. Those who are still here are nothing to be afraid of." As long as we can block the attacks of those immortal beasts, what happens next is nothing. Hu Huanshan said proudly, and in this case, it's impossible for Zichen to borrow the hands of others. The news spread out as expected. Outside this area, there were many holy spirits from some small forces. Obviously, they had other ideas in their hearts. With Leijin Hongtian and other existences who were only one step away from the core, Hu Huanshan was very confident about this defensive battle. Therefore, before the battle began, he went to find the scouts and urged them to quickly come and excavate this area. The immortal beasts were the first to attack. A group of fierce battles broke out. Because there was no furious thunder roar, Hu Huanshan's side suffered a lot of losses. After that, other forces took advantage of the chaos and came, wanting to get a share of the loot. However, they were caught off guard by Leijin Hongtian and the others. One day later, this area was defended. Hu Huanshan was very proud. Next, he just had to wait for the scouts to arrive. As for Leijin Hongtian, he continued to move forward. He also had a flag with him. Obviously, he planned to use the same method to get some benefits from Zichen. 5 days later, the scouts that Hu Huanshan was waiting for finally arrived. It took 3 whole days for them to explore, which made Hu Huanshan even more excited. The more resources a place had, the more cautious it was. 3 days later, the scouts informed him that there were no opportunities in this area. Chapter 3569. Above an area with a radius of 100 miles, Zichen used the 4th flag and guarded the area for an entire day. Because the area was too small, there were almost no major battles. Everything was over, leaving behind 2 5-star holy spirits to wait for the Holy Thunder Clan to take over the area. Zichen led the large group and continued to go deeper. Another 2 days later, Lei Lan discovered another area. This time, the scale was not small. Therefore, he did not hesitate to put down the flags and occupied 2 of them this time. Another day of guarding. Although Zichen had fewer people on his side, there were many powerhouses. With the addition of the furious thunder roar, this battle was daunting but not dangerous. Of course, the original number of people was reduced by nearly 1/10. After sending another 2 people to wait in place, Lei Lan continued to move forward and increased his speed. He did not know when Hu Huanshan would catch up again, so before that, Zichen had to use up all the flags on him. Of course, he did not use them at will. Instead, he relied on Lei Lan's perception. The place where the flags were placed was naturally a place with opportunities, or even a great opportunity. Therefore, before Hu Huanshan caught up, Zichen used 2 more flags. At this point, there was only 1 flag left among the 10 flags. The number of guards following Zichen decreased, but they did not feel depressed. Instead, everyone was very excited. This was because the harvest this time was really great. As for those who died in the battle, their contributions were also doubled, so they could die without regrets. This time, they had profited greatly by following Zichen. Zichen, I want you dead. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. It was Hu Huanshan. Obviously, after chasing for many days, he finally caught up with Zichen. His eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. Zichen glanced at him and said indifferently, "Why? Are you here to help me defend the area? You're very welcome. After this is done, I'll give you a share." Hu Huanshan came closer and said angrily, "You're courting death. Everyone, attack. Kill everyone here." At this moment, Hu Huanshan seemed to have gone mad as he rushed towards Zichen. A tyrannical aura surged from his body. Zichen's eyes gradually turned cold as he used his own strength. Boom! A powerful aura erupted. At the moment when the 2 sides collided, Hu Huanshan was directly sent flying. With the immortal king armor, Zichen was almost invincible. As for the holy spirits who had followed closely behind, they could only watch from afar. Although their expressions were extremely ugly, they didn't have the courage to make a move. In such a place, if there was a private fight between members of the Holy Thunder Clan, they would definitely be punished and bring trouble to the clan. Hu Huanshan forced himself to control his emotions, but the way he looked into Zichen's eyes still looked like they were about to spit fire. Good, very good. Zichen, this time, I will make you pay the price. Hu Huanshan looked at the area Zichen was guarding and turned to leave. At this moment, His heart was filled with monstrous hatred. This was because he had already used 9 flags to get here, but to no avail. Not only that, but in the previous defensive battle, his losses were not small. However, he didn't expect that the area he had conquered would have no resources at all, making him a laughingstock. Looking at Hu Huanshan leaving, Zichen's lips curled into a sneer. Since there was a traitor in the team, Zichen would naturally be on guard. He had dug a hole for Hu Huanshan to jump into again. After leaving, Hu Huanshan said coldly, "Go and spread the news. Say that there is a great opportunity underground in Zichen's area." Obviously, he was very unwilling to give up and decided to set up Zichen again. The defensive battle began. Zichen directly threw out more than 10 holy talismans of furious thunder roar. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and a rain of lightning fell continuously. The falling rain of lightning protected the battle area below. In this area, the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder clan fought more and more bravely. Compared to the enemy, they were suppressed by the power of thunder. In the previous few battles, Zichen was always the first to take out the holy talismans of furious thunder roar. This greatly reduced the team's losses. However, as they went deeper, the battle became more and more tragic. Zichen's team was constantly losing members. At this point, there were only a few 5-star holy spirits left in the team. There were still dozens of 6-star holy spirits. Lei Lan held a stack of holy talismans in her hand and stayed in the center. Once the thunder clouds above showed signs of weakening, she would throw out another talisman to replenish them. As for Zichen, he held the immortal spear in his hand and charged forward. Blood splattered everywhere as immortal beasts died one after another. The group of holy spirits fought fiercely and were not afraid of death. The first battle ended quickly. Immortal stones of different sizes were scattered all around. Everyone quickly cleaned up the battlefield and prepared for the second battle. Experts from other forces appeared around them. This time, there were quite a number of them. Seeing those people, Zichen's expression became colder and colder. He said indifferently, "Everyone, this should be the last battle. Defend this place, and everyone's mission will be completed." Many holy spirits nodded, their eyes filled with a final fanaticism. As long as they defended this place, even if they died in this battle, they would only lose a physical body. With the contribution they obtained from this place, it would not be difficult to refine a new physical body. Thunder clouds rolled above their heads. Thunder dragons constantly descended from the sky and then disintegrated into countless pure thunderbolts. Wisps of thunder power entered Zichen's body and recovered his energy. He waved his hand and motioned for everyone to retreat. Obviously, the battle would be held in the thunder clouds. The enemy charged over. There were more than a dozen teams. Die! Zichen held the battle spear in his hand and rode forward on his immortal beast. The battle spear in his hand drew a ray of light and charged forward. The 6-star holy spirit targeted by Zichen was naturally aware of the opponent's strength. He hurriedly put up a defense. With a loud bang, the opponent's defense was instantly broken. The long spear pressed forward and penetrated the 6-star holy spirit's body. A powerful force shook the area. The 6-star holy spirit's body was sent flying. Zichen rode on his immortal beast and charged forward. This was a fierce battle. Zichen was bathed in blood. No one knew how many 6-star holy spirits were killed by him. However, his personal strength was ultimately limited. His subordinates behind him suffered heavy casualties. The number of people in the team was decreasing one by one. Under such circumstances, the only thing they could do was to persevere and kill the last enemy. Because this place was too far away from the camp, there would be no reinforcements coming. Haha, go to hell. A 6-star holy spirit from the Holy Thunder clan laughed and beheaded his enemy. However, several weapons pierced his body immediately after. His vitality faded away, but the smile on his face did not diminish. The same scene played out in the next few days. The holy spirits from the Holy Thunder clan who died in the battle almost all died with smiles on their faces. The slaughter was still going on, and it was exceptionally fierce. The number of people kept decreasing. In the end, Zichen was the one who held the fort. Those enemies were scared out of their wits and immediately fled. Chapter 3570. In the sky, the thunderstorm continued to fall, nourishing everyone's injured bodies. Corpses were strewn all over the ground. It was a tragic sight. However, everyone who was still alive had an excited smile on their faces. Evidently, they had once again successfully guarded an area. Hu Huanshan appeared in the distance. Looking at the scene in front of him, anger flashed in his eyes. Those trash. Why didn't they hold on for a while longer? In the sky, the thunderstorm was still falling, and everyone's injuries were quickly recovering. Naturally, the success this time was due to the thunder's fury. This holy talisman technique from the Leizheng family really helped Zichen a lot. Hu Huanshan was very unwilling, but his identity was special now. Naturally, he couldn't find trouble with Zichen. At this time, Leizheng Hongtian appeared behind him and said, "Don't worry about this place. I found a big opportunity in the depths. Once you get it, it can make up for all your losses." Hu Huanshan was shocked when he heard this. Leizheng Hongtian couldn't lie to him. This made him, who had been in despair, see hope again. So, he took his people and left. Zichen began to clean up the battlefield and then waited for the Thunder Clan's people to arrive. A day later, a team came here and handed over to Zichen. Then, a professional did a preliminary survey and found an opportunity. Zichen left with the team. He only had one flag left, but he didn't plan to use it for the time being. Because even if they saw an opportunity, it was impossible for them to defend it. A day later, Zichen looked at the 20 holy spirits and said, "You are free now. You can go wherever you want." The holy spirits said without hesitation, "Wherever Sir goes, we will go." Although Zichen was only a 4-star, they respected Zichen from the bottom of their hearts. Once they left here, the contribution they got this time would be enough to strengthen their family. On the other hand, Zichen had already used his own battle prowess to prove that he was worthy of being the captain. Now that everyone was free, they didn't leave immediately, because this was not a sightseeing place, but a dangerous area. If they followed Zichen, even if they encountered danger, they could take care of each other. Moreover, everyone knew that Zichen still had one last flag on him. If they found something special, they could still try to drop the flag. Seeing that none of them had any intention of leaving, Zichen did not force them. Instead, he led them deeper into the forest. Lei Lan was by Zichen's side. Lei Lan's contribution to the great harvest this time could not go unnoticed. Along the way, there were no more battles. Even the number of ferocious beasts gradually decreased. A huge city appeared at the end of Zichen's line of sight. Are we reaching the city soon? Looking at the outline of the city that was gradually becoming clearer, Zichen's heart was filled with anticipation. Because the real opportunity was the soul-gathering crystal mine. In addition to the city in the distance becoming clearer, some mountain peaks gradually appeared in the surroundings. The mountain peaks were continuous, as if a divine dragon was lying down, forming a huge mountain range. At this moment, figures flashed in the mountain range from time to time. Powerful auras surged there. There was a battle. Zichen released his spiritual thoughts and was surprised to find that there were immortals here. At this moment, many forces were surrounding and killing those immortals. The immortals were wearing immortal armor. Although the quality was not as good as Zichen's immortal king armor, it was still much stronger than ordinary armor. Zichen turned around to look at the crowd and found that their gazes had all become fervent. Obviously, everyone wanted to get a set of immortal armor. Zichen did not stop them. Instead, he said, "Be careful." Obviously, this was a tacit agreement. The group cheered and left. Zichen turned to look at Lei Lan and asked, "What's wrong?" According to Zichen's original intention, it was obvious that he wanted to help everyone. After all, his ghost spirit sacred talisman was extraordinarily powerful. But just now, Lei Lan suddenly sent a voice transmission, and Zichen dismissed this idea. Lei Lan looked at the endless mountain range in front of them and said in a deep voice, "I feel that there's something unusual about this place." "Oh?" Zichen said. "Is there another opportunity?" Lei Lan shook her head and said, "I'm not sure, but my perception is greatly affected here. There seems to be a mysterious force that blocks my perception." Hearing this, Zichen became spirited. He still had the last command flag. If there was really an opportunity here, he might be able to fight for it. He followed Lei Lan and flew forward. Zichen extended his spiritual consciousness and found that there were many holy spirits in the area. These holy spirits came from various forces. It could be said that all the forces that came to the depths had gathered here at this moment. The city was still at the forefront. This mountain range was like a natural moat, protecting the city ahead. There were many holy spirits here, but compared to when they first entered this world, the number of holy spirits had decreased by 90%. Zichun stood in the air. Lei Lan carefully observed the surroundings, but did not find anything. Right at this moment, a person flew over at high speed. Brother Zichun. The person cupped his fists at Zichan from afar. Zichun cupped his fists in response and looked at the stranger. I'm Lei Ba, from the Annihilation Clan. The person introduced himself. Zichen's expression changed, and he cupped his fists at Lei Ba again. This time, his expression was more serious. Of course, this was not for Lei Ba, but for the Annihilation Clan. It was a very special clan, similar to the enforcers of the Holy Thunder Clan. Its reputation was second only to the core of the clan, but it was very special and important. The role of this clan was to protect the peace of the Holy Thunder Clan. In the history of the Holy Thunder Clan, the Annihilation Clan had quelled rebellions more than 100 times. At the most serious time, the Annihilation Clan was almost destroyed. When the Annihilation Clan was mentioned, it could be said that everyone in the Holy Thunder Clan admired it. To the entire Holy Thunder Clan, the Annihilation Clan's reputation might not be comparable to the Leizheng families. However, among the core disciples, the Annihilation Clan's reputation was much higher than the Leizheng families. Speaking of which, Brother Zichun, your reputation has been great recently, Lei Ba said with a smile. Many people are envious of your team and want to replace them. Zichun smiled and said, Don't say that. I'm just a bit lucky. Moreover, after coming here, we suffered heavy losses this time. The team we brought with us has less than 20 people left. Lei Ba said, Our losses are not small either. That's why I came to find you this time. In fact, I hope to join forces with your team. Chapter 3571. Previously, Lei Lan had such a feeling. Now that Lei Ba said the same thing, Zichun was even more curious. Have you found something? Zichun looked at Lei Ba. Lei Ba shook his head and smiled bitterly. How is that possible? The opportunities here are very hidden and difficult to find. Once found, it must be something extraordinary. I can't protect it. Zichun said, I'm afraid you found the wrong person. I have less than 20 people. Moreover, I have a conflict with the Leizheng family. That Hu Huanshan from the Hu family has been targeting me. If you team up with me, not only will you not get a powerful force, you will also lose many allies. I didn't expect you to be such a straightforward person. Lei Ba laughed and said, But I'm the same as you. I'm not very likable. I also dislike the Leizheng family. Speaking of which, I also know about your situation. It's because of this that I want to team up with you. Zichun looked at Lei Ba suspiciously. With his identity as the Chaos Extermination Clan, which family wouldn't want to curry favor with him? Even Lei Zhengheng Tian would be very polite when he saw Lei Ba. Lei Ba smiled and said, In this area, there are less than 10 people who know my identity. Zichun's expression changed slightly when he heard this. Lei Lan's expression was the same. Lei Ba introduced himself as soon as he arrived. It seemed very casual, but he didn't expect it to be a secret. Lei Ba obviously didn't explain much to Zichun. Instead, he asked, So, do you agree? If you don't mind my weak force, I don't mind forming an alliance. Of course, it's only a temporary alliance. My people won't follow you. Zichun said. Lei Ba smiled and said, You don't have to worry about that. My people will follow you. Follow me? Zichun was stunned. He didn't understand. In this world, who doesn't know that you have a treasure-hunting prodigy by your side? Under such circumstances, the wisest choice is naturally to follow you. But you can rest assured. After the matter is done, according to our contribution, just give us some contribution. We won't ask for more. Your idea is good, said Zichun. But after coming here, there seems to be a mysterious energy that obstructs Lei Lan's perception. So right now, everyone is actually the same. Lei Ba clearly didn't expect it to be like this, but he didn't care too much and said, It's naturally good to have an opportunity, but it doesn't matter if you don't. Just treat it as making a friend. Zichun nodded slightly and flew forward. Lei Lan naturally followed beside him. What did you find? Zichun asked as they moved forward. I haven't found anything yet. Lei Ba said. However, none of the people who came here left. Clearly, they all felt that there was an opportunity here. Zichun's gaze swept past the mountain range and looked at the city in the distance. Is no one going in to take a look? Lei Ba shook his head and said, there is obviously a great danger inside, so no one has gone in yet. If the soul-amassing crystal mine was really in this mountain range, no one would want to go in. Or rather, I won't be going in anytime soon. While moving forward, Lei Lan constantly used her perception ability to sense the surroundings. However, she found nothing. During this time, Zichun's spiritual thoughts found Hu Huanshan. Hu Huanshan was with Lei Jinghongtian, so he also noticed Zichun. They looked at each other coldly. Zichun ignored him and continued to look around. His spiritual thoughts landed on the mountain peaks and carefully probed, but he didn't find anything. At this moment, he noticed that in other places, there were many holy spirits using their various abilities and spells to search for opportunities. Among them, one of them was using an eye technique. His eyes lit up as he looked around. Zichun said in surprise, eye techniques can be used to find opportunities? Lei Bao said, although there are no successful examples for the time being, it's obvious that no one has given up. Zichun, who was walking forward, suddenly stopped. There was an abnormality here that affected his perception. Could it be some kind of restriction? Under such circumstances, Zichun's eye of destruction would naturally work. What's wrong? Lei Ba looked at Zichun, who suddenly stopped. Perhaps I can give it a try. Zichun's eyes lit up as the eye of destruction appeared. The originally ordinary mountain range in front of him had a new change at this moment. The colorful energy of heaven and earth filled the surroundings, and it was very eye-catching. At the same time, there was a mysterious power around the mountain range. This power was everywhere, like countless threads, enveloping the surroundings, sometimes disappearing. The light in Zichun's eyes disappeared. He found that in such a short period of time, he had consumed a lot of energy. What did you find? Lei Ba asked. Zichun smiled slightly. Something interesting. Previously, he had only observed for a short time, but he still found that the light patterns were flickering, appearing and disappearing. Lei Ba was a little puzzled. Zichun took a step forward, and his body lit up. The eye of destruction appeared again. Those thread-like patterns appeared once again. Zichun stretched out his finger and pointed forward. A ray of light streaked across his fingertip. Lei Lan and Lei Ba both looked at Zichun in confusion. The light in Zichun's eyes disappeared again, and the smile at the corner of his mouth slowly disappeared. What did you find? Lei Lan asked. What did you see earlier? Zichun asked. Lei Lan shook his head and said, nothing. Previously, when Zichun had made a move, with a light stroke of his hand, the threads he could see had been torn apart. Within the broken threads, there seemed to be something else hidden within. Since others couldn't see it, it was naturally a good thing for Zichun. Next, he just needed to slowly search, and he would definitely discover the secret of this mountain range. Zichun nodded slightly and said, if that's the case, then let's take our time. Next, Zichun continued to use the Eye of Destruction. This time, he could see more clearly. Those threads appeared and disappeared, as if they were in two different spaces. When they disappeared, Zichun's eye technique didn't change at all, but when they appeared, the Eye of Destruction could temporarily cause them to become chaotic. Taking advantage of the moment of chaos, Zichun could cut the threads and see what was inside. He saw countless rays of light, like tree roots, intertwining and extending into the distance. The cut threads gathered together again, and the strange scene in front of Zichun disappeared. However, the previous glance was enough for him to see some clues. He looked back at Lei Ba and said, do you really want to cooperate with me? Lei Ba said, why would I lie? Did you find something? Chapter 3572. Lei Ba's expression shifted when he heard Zichun's transmission. Zichun continued, remember to tell him to bring more powerhouses. Perhaps we'll have to face off against all factions in the near future. Lei Ba nodded his head silently and began to arrange everything. Zichun continued forward, exploring one place after another. He seemed to be wandering aimlessly, just like everyone else around him, using useless arts and doing useless homework. What's the point of pretending to be mysterious? Hu Huanshan sneered at the pretentious Zichun. Even Lei Lan's perception is useless here. So what's the point of your eye technique? A figure stood in the air above the immortal city. He looked down on the outside world like a ruler looking at ants. He was the one who'd first appeared, but didn't appear again. A beam of light appeared next to him. It was an immortal clad in immortal armor. My lord, those ants won't come in. They won't discover the mountain peak, will they? The immortals were worried. The existence who called himself Lord smiled faintly and said, since you call them ants, you know that they don't have the ability to do so. However, even if we do find the summit of the mountains, it doesn't matter. Compared to our final plan, the cultivation resources in the summit of the mountains are nothing. The figure nodded and said with some relief, if that's the case, do we need to make some preparations? No need. Just open the bag and wait for them to come in. With a flash, the other party disappeared from sight. Lei Wuxing was still in charge of matters in the outer regions. His expression shifted slightly when he heard the news from the depths of the immortal city. Who sent the news? Lei Wuxing asked. A 6-star sacred spirit named Lei Ba. The informant answered expressionlessly. In the entire saint spirit world, which of the 6-star saint spirits wasn't a famous overlord? But in this place, where countless 6-star saint spirits gathered, other than Lei Wuxing and the others were all nameless. Lei Wuxing nodded and waved a hand, indicating that the informant could leave. After they left, he couldn't help but frown. If it was someone else who sent the message, he might have ignored it. However, the person who sent the message was Lei Ba. Knowing Lei Ba's identity, he naturally understood the meaning behind the other party's message. However, guarding the outside world was also a heavy responsibility. As the leader, if he insisted on going deep, he would be neglecting his duties. Moreover, even if there were fortuitous opportunities in the depths, compared to the many resources in the outside world, it was really nothing. He stood in place and soon received the second piece of news. This news came from the secret channel of the Holy Thunder Clan itself. Through this channel, he learned many things that others did not know. For example, Zichen had tricked Hu Huanshan once again, and Hu Huanshan had contacted Lei Zhenghongtian many times. He even had a very close relationship with the Sacred Star Clan. Since he's teamed up with Zichun, he must have discovered something. Looking at the contents of the message, Lei Wuxing thought of Zichen's previous harvest. It was obvious that he had discovered something. Although he had not gone deep into the area, he had a good understanding of it. Everyone felt that there would be great fortuitous opportunities there. However, many forces had searched for a long time and still found nothing. Could it be that Zichun had discovered something? After a slight hesitation, he began to mobilize people. This time, he even called Lei Wuxuang over. Obviously, he also felt that there might be a great discovery in the depths this time. Ever since Zichun signaled Lei Ba to send the message, Zichun had been searching in the mountain range for 5 days. During these 5 days, he had consumed a lot of energy because the Eye of Destruction was also suppressed. However, through the scenes he saw every time, he saw the other side of the mountain range, which was very shocking. However, he was indifferent and did not show any excitement. At this moment, he was searching through countless routes to find the location of the main vein. Lei Ba was a little anxious because he had received news that Lei Wuxing and the others were on their way. If they did not find anything, it would be a great crime. Another 2 days later, Zichen landed on a mountain peak. He looked into the distance and asked, "Where are they?" Lei Ba said, "Judging by the time, they should be here soon." "Why? Did you find something?" Zichen suddenly looked at Lei Ba and laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Lei Ba asked curiously. The last flag appeared in Zichen's hand. "Then I'll put it here. Let's test the firepower of all sides first." He casually inserted the flag at the location under his feet. Then, the flag lit up and ripples surged out. A real light barrier covered an area of 300 feet. Other than the mountain under his feet, there were 2 other mountains that were covered. What is this? Lei Ba was stunned. Obviously, Zichen's dropping of the flag at this time would make them the target of public criticism. If the reinforcements did not come and they found the place of opportunity, they would only die. Zichen smiled and said, "It's fine. If we can't hold on, we can just retreat. It's not a big deal." Lei Ba stared and said, "So, you did it on purpose? Let's see what the others think first. Only then can we prepare for the follow-up." Zichen said, "If that's the case, I'll immediately send a message to everyone to guard." Lei Ba said, "No need. Send a message to the others. Don't come over." Zichen looked at the area of 300 feet and said, "With just the three of us, we should be able to hold on." Lei Ba was dumbfounded. However, he quickly understood Zichen's meaning and laughed. If it was just a test, then there was naturally no opportunity in this place. At this time, everyone was looking at Zichen because he was the first to drop the flag. Coupled with some legends about Zichen, everyone's eyes became fiery. Could it be that he really found a magical place? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. This guy, what the hell is he doing now? After seeing Zichen drop the flag, Hu Huanshan's face immediately became gloomy. Speaking of which, when he saw Zichen drop the flag, he had a shadow in his heart because he had been tricked 9 times. Moreover, with Zichen's strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to drop the flag in an area of several thousand feet. However, he only covered a few hundred feet. Why was that? Leijing Hongtian looked at Zichen and frowned. Obviously, he couldn't understand what the other party was doing. Looking at this mountain range, only Zichen had dropped the flag. At this time, he had undoubtedly become the focus of everyone. Among them, there was no lack of murderous gazes. Regarding this, Zichen was indifferent. He stood on the mountain peak and looked at the heroes. Real? Fake? At this moment, everyone's hearts were filled with hesitation. Because Zichen was too casual. He was so casual that it was obvious that he was telling everyone that this was just a piece of graffiti to ease the atmosphere. Once they attacked, they would definitely suffer heavy casualties. If it was fake, the losses would definitely outweigh the gains. But what if it was real? Chapter 3573. Zichen smiled as he looked at the crowd with a calm expression. Beside him, Lei Lan and Lei Ba's hearts were pounding. They didn't know if there was an opportunity here. Lei Ba and the others didn't come over to help because they heard Zichen's order. Lei Ba's people didn't come either. The surroundings were very quiet. "You bastard, you're still playing tricks." An angry and cold voice broke the silence. It was Hu Huanshan. He was already dissatisfied with Zichen. "You idiot, you're so evil. Who are you trying to trick this time?" Zichen looked at him and said coldly, "How do you know it's fake this time?" Hu Huanshan was so angry that his body was trembling. He cursed, "You idiot. If it's real, why are you standing there with 3 people? Why don't you call your people over to defend?" Zichen said indifferently, "It's just 3,000 feet. Do you need so many people to defend?" Bullsh *T. You just don't want others to die for nothing. This place is fake. Hu Huanshan said angrily, "You didn't find the place of opportunity at all. You butcher. You want to kill." Hearing Hu Huanshan's words, many people's expressions changed. Many of them knew about Hu Huanshan's deeds. Compared to Zichen's glory, he was the opposite. He was tricked very badly. Hu Huanshan, who had been tricked many times, naturally had the right to speak about Zichen's understanding. Then, did Zichen really want to kill people? Zichen said with disdain, "I only have 1 flag left. Do you think I'll take it out to play?" Hearing this, everyone's expression became even more strange. Under normal circumstances, if there really was an opportunity here, it would definitely follow Hu Huanshan's words. That way, no one would have any ideas about this place. However, Zichen actually emphasized that there was an opportunity here. Was he really looking for a fight? Or was it purely to kill people? Hu Huanshan said indifferently, "Don't think I don't know what you're planning. It's just a flag. If you want, I can give you a bunch." Zichen fell silent. Of course, it could also be said that he ignored him. "Do you really think there are no opportunities there?" Leijing Hongtian sent Hu Huanshan a sound transmission. Hu Huanshan said with certainty, "Out of 10 times, I've already been wrong 9 times. I don't believe that I'll be wrong again this time. The probability of guessing wrongly 9 times in a row was not high to begin with. If he guessed wrongly 10 times in a row, the probability was even lower. Under such circumstances, many people believed Hu Huanshan. Because Zichen only had 3 people, how could he dare to fight against so many heroes? One had to know that there were many forces that had come here. Not to mention others, there were 3 forces that were comparable to the Holy Thunder Clan. Moreover, the members of the Quintet aristocratic family were not any weaker than the Holy Thunder Clan. Would Zichun dare to take such a huge risk to occupy this land of great opportunity? The answer was obviously impossible, unless he was a gambler, because it would be safer to wait for the main forces to arrive. Although they had already received news that Lei Wuxing of the Holy Thunder Clan was on the way. But who could guarantee that the 3,000 feet area under Zichen's feet was the real land of opportunity? Because this was a mountain range, there were too many similar terrains. Of course, there were some existences with special perception. They used secret techniques or eye techniques to investigate the area under Zichen's feet. In the end, they all shook their heads and said that they did not find anything unusual, because that place was too ordinary. Brother Zichun, congratulations on occupying a land of great opportunity. Suddenly, a faint laugh sounded, and 2 people flew over from the outside. It was Ink from the Death Prison Star Pirate and the existence called Sixth Young Master. When the 2 of them were outside, they were just spectators and never fought. Unexpectedly, they took the initiative to appear now. Did they see something? Zichen's expression did not change, and he said indifferently, "You're welcome. You're a Death Prison Star Pirate, and I'm a member of the Holy Thunder Clan, so I'm not familiar with you." As soon as he said that, the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped, and many Holy Spirits' eyes fell on Ink and Sixth Young Master. The reputation of the Death Prison Star Pirate was extremely bad. Sensing the unfriendly gazes around, Ink's smile did not fade, and he continued, "Brother Zichun, you're wrong. You and I have traveled together. How can you say we're not familiar with each other?" Zichen said, "Your method is too low-end." Ink said, "It doesn't matter. I just feel that Brother Zichun may not be able to guard this place. I really want to help Brother Zichun." Zichen waved his hand and said, "No need. If you really want to guard it, the Holy Thunder Clan has plenty of powerhouses." As soon as he said that, there was an uproar in the surroundings, and everyone wanted to curse. "Good fellow. So you really want to kill people?" Hu Huanshan sneered, as if he had seen through Ink long ago. "If that's the case, I've been rash. I'll take my leave now." Ink cupped his fists at Zichun, then turned around and left. Zichun did not pay attention to him, showing a rare indifference. Under such circumstances, if they dared to have too much contact with the Death Prison Star Pirate, they might all become enemies. The 6th Young Master followed behind Ink and asked in confusion, "Why are you doing this?" Ink said via voice transmission, "I wasn't sure at first, but after the conversation, I concluded that there is an opportunity under Zichen's feet, and it's a great opportunity. Don't turn around and look. Act as if nothing happened." "Why do you want to help him?" The 6th Young Master, who did not show any abnormality, said via voice transmission, "Under such circumstances, shouldn't we rob this place?" "No, Zichen is the key to us finding the soul-gathering crystal vein. That's the great opportunity. The rest is nothing. Therefore, we must not give ourselves away. If we are alerted by him, our plan will completely fail." Ink and the 6th Young Master left. Because their identities were sensitive, they could not stay here for long. "Is there really no opportunity here?" Leizheng Hongtian asked again via voice transmission. "Can't you see? With so many heroes gathered, Zichen's actions were only for the sake of fighting and making a name for himself. Let me ask you, where can you find such a good opportunity? Once someone goes up and is easily defeated by Zichen, his reputation will spread far and wide. At that time, all forces will know that there is a powerhouse called Zichen in the Holy Thunder Clan." This time, Hu Huanshan used voice transmission. Obviously, he did not want to share this secret. Leizheng Hongtian nodded. He actually felt that this was true. In the Saint Spirit realm, once one had a great reputation, one would get twice the result with half the effort. Damn it, He actually beat me to it. Lei Hongtian cursed. This kind of opportunity to gather fame was what he had always wanted. Hee hee, others think you're fake, but I think you're real. Chapter 3574. The one who walked out from the crowd was Xing Yichen, the leader of the initial group. He had a good relationship with Lei Hongtian. Last time, he had targeted Zichen, but many of his experts were killed by Zichen. Seeing the other person walk out, Zichen said, "You do have some foresight." Xing Yichen said, "It's not easy to reach here. I don't think there's a need for a large-scale war." "Of course, you must think so too." Zichen said, "What do you want?" "Very simple, you and I will spar. Whoever wins will get this place." Xing Yichen pointed to the area under Zichen's feet and said. Zichen shook his head. Xing Yichen sneered, "Why, you don't dare?" The expressions of the surrounding people changed. "It's not that I don't dare, but I don't want to spar with you." Zichen said indifferently, "You have targeted me many times. The reason why I ignored the danger to refine the Immortal King armor was also because of you. Originally, you were a coward and I couldn't fight with you. Since you took the initiative to stick out your head, how can I not take this opportunity to cut off your head?" Looking at the ugly expression on Xing Yichen's face, Zichen said coldly, "So, between you and me, there is only a life and death battle. There is no such thing as a spar." The surroundings were in an uproar. Zichen gripped the battle spear in his hand and said coldly, "If you have the guts, let's have a life and death battle." The Immortal King armor released a strong light and Zichen's body released a tyrannical aura. Xing Yichen's eyes turned cold. "Good. I have also wanted to kill you for a long time. At the same time, I also want to see which defense is stronger between the Immortal King armor and the Immortal King armor." An immortal sword appeared in Xing Yichen's hand. The Immortal King armor around his body began to emit light and a powerful aura surged. "Die." He instantly moved forward and Xing Chen's power coiled around the immortal sword. Zichen held the battle spear and stabbed forward. A sharp whistling sound came from the air and left a clear white mark. The battle spear stabbed towards Xing Yichen's forehead. Xing Yichen's expression did not change. The immortal sword in his hand vibrated and attacked the battle spear. Clang! A powerful shockwave shook the area, and the two of them retreated. Then, they started fighting again. At that moment, everyone's attention was focused on the battle before them. They did not believe that Zichen actually had a fortuitous encounter beneath his feet. Based on the conversation between the two of them earlier, no matter how they looked at it, they had come to settle their old grudges. Boom, boom, boom. The powerful energy continued to vibrate, forming a terrifying fluctuation. Planet 9 lights. A cold voice suddenly sounded out, and Xing Yichen's speed suddenly increased. Like a ray of starlight, he appeared beside Zichen. The Holy Thunder Clan had the extreme speed movement technique, and so did the Holy Star Clan. Zichen didn't move an inch when he saw the man appear out of nowhere. Sword light flashed, carrying a powerful aura. It went straight for Zichen's neck, intending to decapitate him. Zichen gently raised his left arm, and the Immortal King armor on his arm glowed. Clang! When the immortal sword met the Immortal King armor, a clanging sound was heard, and a white mark was left on the Immortal King armor. That was all. The long spear in Zichen's right hand turned into a ray of lightning and went straight for Xing Yichen's throat. Heavy star domain. In the sky, starlight shone, and several Xing Chen stars appeared, forming a Xing Chen diagram. A terrifying pressure descended from the sky and landed on Zichen's body. Zichen felt his body sink, and the spear that was moving forward was also affected. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and countless rays of lightning gathered in the spear. 81 ghosts appeared from the shattered Saint Talismans, but compared to before, the ghosts were clearer, as if they were real. The array was formed, and the ghost spirits moved forward. The 81 ghosts flew around, occasionally letting out sharp sounds. There was no powerful aura, but it still made people feel a strong chill. Idiot! When Xing Yichen saw these ghosts, he could not help but sneer. He dared to face Zichen, so he was naturally prepared. With a thought, 3 Saint Talismans flew out, towards the sky. Starthought Blade. On the Saint Talismans, there were 5 light runes, indicating the level of 5 stars. They shattered in an instant, and then 3 blades surrounded by Xing Qin's light appeared. A powerful soul aura surged out from the blades. Obviously, he already knew the characteristics of the ghost spirit Saint Talismans and had thought of a way to break the enemy. Just as the 3 soul blades were moving forward, Xing Qian began to form seals, and a seemingly real Xing Qian appeared in front of him. The soul blades fell on the ghost spirit array, and the 81 ghosts that ignored the energy attack let out sharp cries, as if they were suffering some kind of pain. The smile on Xing Qian's face was still, and there was more confidence on his face. He looked at Zichun, and his eyes turned cold. Spirit extinguishing starlight. The Xing Qian in front of him suddenly burst out with a dazzling white light, and then a real Xing Qian light beam went straight for Zichun. It had the speed of light, and in an instant, it was in front of Zichun. Facing this attack, Zichun could only defend. The speed of the light beam was too fast, and he could only defend. With the war spear in front of him, his hands crossed, and golden light shrouded his body, forming a defensive light shield. As the spirit extinguishing starlight approached, the defensive light shield was extinguished and shattered. Then, the starlight landed on Zichen's chest. Boom! A terrifying power exploded, and Zichen's body flew out. Countless starlight surrounded his body, as if to extinguish his life force. Looking at the scene in front of him, Xing Yichen's face revealed a cold intent. A mere 4-star dares to boast in front of this young master? In the sky, the ghost spirit array blocked the attack of the 3 soul blades. The array, which had obviously dimmed, came down and entered Xing Yichen's sea of consciousness. His face instantly turned pale, but the smile on his face grew brighter. Chapter 3575. The 81 Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans were dissolved just like that. It seemed simple, but the consumption was not small. Just the 3 5-star Saint Talismans were worth a lot. Although he had blocked this move, Xing Yichen's soul aura was still injured, and his aura became very weak. However, the smile on his face did not diminish because Zichun could only use this move once. Once it was broken, Zichun would not be able to use it again. He would not give his opponent time to draw talismans. Therefore, he walked forward and said indifferently, "Next, is it time to take your life?" The energy in front of him dissipated, and Zichun retreated 200 feet. The immortal king armor was still intact, but his face was a little pale. It was obvious that he had suffered serious injuries. After hearing Xing Yichen's words, Zichen's lips curled into a disdainful smile. "You only destroyed one of my attacks, and you're so sure that you won? What else can I do? You're just a 4-star, and you've lost your strongest move. Can you kill me? Or can you break my immortal king armor?" Xing Yichen snorted and said, "What 18 immortal king armor? In my opinion, it's just Osa." Zichun walked forward, and light circulated in front of him, and the immortal beast from before appeared again. He rode the immortal beast, wore the immortal king armor, and held a war spear in his hand. Xing Yichen's expression was full of mockery. "It looks like it, but it's just a facade. Is that so?" Zichen's gaze instantly became sharp, and a sharp aura surged out from his body. Roar! The immortal beast under him let out a roar, and a ray of light flew out from its body and entered Zichen's body. To be more precise, it landed on the immortal king armor. Then, the immortal king armor erupted, and power surged into the war spear. At this moment, the war spear in Zichen's hand began to tremble. Spear 1, Heaven and Earth. A cold voice rang out, and Zichen stabbed forward with his spear. Buzz! Space trembled and began to distort madly. In the past, Zichen's body had been pierced by this move. After countless battles, he had finally comprehended the spear technique of this immortal spear. This spear contained the might of heaven and earth. A momentary absent-mindedness appeared in Xing Yichen's eyes, but he quickly regained his senses. The spear had already reached his chest. "You're courting death," he roared angrily, and his body lit up. He chose to use the immortal armor to withstand this attack. At the same time, the immortal sword in his right hand slashed towards Zichen's neck. Obviously, as long as he blocked Zichen's spear, then Zichen would be beheaded. The surrounding spectators all held their breaths. The battle had clearly reached its most dangerous point. Lei Lan's eyes were filled with worry. Lei Ba was also worried for Zichen. In the immortal city, there was no change in the expression of the indifferent being. It was as though he wasn't nervous at all. Because he was familiar with it, he was calm. The battle spear thrust forward, encountering Xing Yichen's defense. Pong! The defense was instantly broken. On the battle spear, light bloomed. The power of this spear had been displayed to the extreme. It continued to move forward, meeting the immortal armor. Cracks appeared on the indestructible immortal armor. These cracks spread rapidly, covering the entire armor. There was a loud bang. The immortal armor exploded, and the battle spear continued forward, piercing into Xing Yichen's chest. It instantly pierced through. The immortal sword in Xing Yichen's hand stopped beside Zichen. A strong wind whistled in his ears, blowing his hair. How is this possible? Xing Yichen's eyes widened as he looked at Zichen in disbelief. His right hand that was holding the sword was still surging with light, and a powerful force continued to converge on the immortal sword. As long as he moved forward a little more, Zichen would definitely be beheaded. However, the immortal sword had lost control and was motionless. His gaze fell on the immortal sword. With the sword tip as the starting point, cracks suddenly appeared on the immortal sword. The cracks were like spirit snakes that snaked forward, covering the immortal sword. In the next moment, the immortal sword shattered, and the fragments flew in all directions. The surroundings became incomparably quiet, and there was no sound. Xing Yichen looked at Zichen, his eyes filled with unwillingness. How can the power of the immortal king armor be guessed by you? Zichen pulled out the immortal spear, and sacred blood spurted out from Xing Yichen's chest. His already weak aura instantly withered. His soul was destroyed. At such a close distance, Zichen would not give the other party the chance to swallow the elixir, and forcefully extinguished his life force. You're courting death. Right at this moment, a furious roar broke the silence of this place. A six-star saint spirit flew forward at top speed. He was also wearing immortal armor, and he held a battle sword in his hand as he slashed at Zichen. Clang! Zichen blocked with his battle spear. A powerful force came, and the immortal beast quickly retreated with him. He returned to the original mountain peak and stared indifferently at the six-star sacred spirit. The other party hugged Xing Yichen's corpse, and his eyes were filled with pain. He turned back and stared at Zichen. Kid, I want you dead. Zichen snorted. Why? Is your sacred star clan so unruly? A battle of life and death is naturally a scene of life and death. A ray of light flew out from his body, and Xing Yichen's corpse disappeared. It was obvious that the six-star sacred spirit had kept it. The other party said coldly, a battle of life and death? Fine, I, Xing Yihong, will also have a battle of life and death with you today. Do you have any shame? I just went through a big battle, and now you want to have a battle of life and death with me? Will there be other people from your sacred star clan after I kill you? Zichen said coldly. If you don't dare, then scram. My sacred star clan wants this place. Whether you're pretending or there's really an opportunity here, I'll accept it all, you coward of the sacred Thunder clan. The angry Xing Yihong was obviously not stupid. He knew how to use this method to provoke Zichen. Fine, your clumsy provocation is successful. I accept your challenge. Life and death is up to fate. With that, the war spear in Zichen's hand disappeared, and the immortal beast under him also turned into light and dissipated. He began to form seals. Under such circumstances, if he wanted to fight against a six-star sacred spirit wearing an immortal armor, he could only use the lightning controlling technique. Only the lightning controlling technique could have a deterrent effect at such a time. In an instant, the seals were formed. Die. Xing Yihong held his saber horizontally, and 9 stars appeared above his head. He instantly closed in and slashed down. Star might. The long saber trembled, and a powerful force surged out, creating a terrifying pressure in the surroundings. Feeling this aura, everyone's expression changed greatly. The other party was undoubtedly stronger than Xing Yichen. The saber light approached, bringing with it a terrifying pressure. Infinite pressure descended from the sky. Zichen opened his eyes and felt this aura. His expression gradually turned cold. Lightning controlling technique? Boom. Above the sky, a bolt of lightning appeared, and the world suddenly lit up, dazzling the eyes. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky, like a thunder dragon from the outside world, winding down. Chapter 3576. Facing Xing Yiheng's attack, Zichen did not dodge or evade. The surrounding holy spirits looked at this scene in astonishment. They secretly thought, could it be that Zichen was scared silly? Did he forget to dodge? Those from the Holy Thunder clan also broke out in cold sweat for Zichen. Lei Jinghongtian and Hu Huanshan's expressions were extremely cold. Of course, they were willing to see the scene of Zichen being killed. At this moment, the sound of thunder rumbled, deafening the ears. Then, heaven and earth emitted a dazzling light. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky, as if it had passed through the barrier of time and space, and landed on Xing Yiheng's body first. The starlight that surged around his body was instantly drowned out by the lightning. His entire body released the light of lightning, as if he was a member of the Thunder clan. Zichen's aura became weak, but his expression was still cold. Lei Ba stared blankly at this scene. Get ready. Go get the immortal armor. Zichen's voice suddenly sounded in his sea of consciousness. He was slightly startled and puzzled. At this moment, the lightning in front of him dissipated. Xing Yiheng's aura had already disappeared. He was dead. The surroundings were in an uproar. It was actually an instant kill. Lei Ba reacted and instantly flew forward. Taking advantage of the fact that no one could react, he took away Xing Yiheng's corpse. Who are you? Why are you so rude? Just as Lei Ba retreated, a berating voice sounded. It was Lei Jinghongtian. Lei Ba glanced at the other party and said, Who do you think you are to criticize me? Bastard. He is Lei Jinghongtian of the Lei Jing family. He is only one step away from the core. Hu Huanshan reprimanded from the side. Oh? So you are the core that was eliminated? Lei Ba smiled coldly and said, But don't be discouraged, because there are too many people who were eliminated like you. You're courting death. Hu Huanshan's eyes were filled with cold-killing intent. Through the conversation between the two sides, Zichen absolutely believed that these people did not know Lei Ba's origin. Otherwise, they would not have used such an attitude. Lei Jinghongtian said, It's my fault that I didn't reach the pinnacle of the core. It has nothing to do with you. But you shouldn't have taken the Sacred Planet Clan's armor. Because the Sacred Star Clan is our ally. Is this how you treat your ally? Lei Ba looked at Lei Jinghongtian as if he was looking at an idiot. I say, no wonder you were eliminated. It turns out that your head was caught by a door. Have you ever seen allies fight to the death? They don't care about the Holy Thunder Clan. Do I know who they are? Lei Jinghongtian said, It's not that they don't put the Holy Thunder Clan in their eyes, but they have a conflict with Zichen. This is a private matter that needs to be resolved by both sides. It has nothing to do with the Holy Thunder Clan. And you took away the immortal armor that belonged to the Holy Star Clan. This will affect the alliance between the two clans. There are a lot of fallacious arguments. Lei Ba said disdainfully, I never thought that this generation of Lei Zheng's disciple would be so scheming. You're just trying to befriend the Holy Star Clan, but there's no need to deliberately trample on them. Lei Jinghongtian frowned. Looking at the entire Holy Thunder Clan, there were only a few who dared to not give face to the Lei Jing family. This strange Thunder Clan disciple was able to become a 6-star, so his status in the Holy Thunder Clan was obviously not low. He was definitely not a fool. What was the reason why he dared to look down on him? Lei Ba looked around and said indifferently, I'll have to trouble you all to bear witness to this. This idiot from the Lei Jing family deliberately targeted his fellow clansmen in order to befriend the Holy Star Clan. Of course, we don't care about it. So, the Holy Star Clan must accept this favor, okay? As for this immortal armor, it's Zichen's spoils of war. I'll definitely not return it. So, if you want to target him, come at me. Don't make things difficult for the Lei Jing family. Lei Ba's words were sarcastic, making Lei Jinghongtian's expression extremely ugly. Do you want to die? Hu Huanshan stared at Lei Ba with cold, killing intent surging in his eyes. Come at me if you have the ability. Let's see who's the one who wants to die, Lei Ba said coldly. Everyone around had a strange look on their faces. This was obviously a conflict between the Holy Star Clan and Zichun. How did it become a war of words between the Holy Thunder Clan? The Holy Star Clan's powerhouse, who had already come out, was ignored. The other party stood there and listened to the quarrel between the two sides with an awkward and unhappy expression. Our Holy Star Clan will accept the Lei Zheng family's kindness this time. We will definitely repay you in the future. The other party cupped his fists at Lei Zheng Hongtian and said, however, today's matter is a dispute between our Holy Star Clan and Zichun. So, please don't interfere in this matter. Lei Zheng Hongtian cupped his fists and replied, our Holy Thunder Clan will never interfere in this matter. This guy has provoked the Holy Star Clan several times. He really deserves to die. As soon as Lei Zheng Hongtian's voice fell, the crowd immediately booed. Even if they had a conflict with Zichun, in front of outsiders, they were all members of the Holy Thunder Clan. No matter what, Lei Zheng Hongtian was still a member of a big clan. Many people couldn't stand seeing him deliberately flatter the Holy Star Clan and belittle his own people. Lei Zheng Hongtian obviously noticed the subtle change in the crowd's attitude, so he snorted and stopped talking. The surroundings became quiet again. The 6 stars of the Holy Star Clan stared coldly at Zichun. Zichun said, if you're not convinced, then come up. I'll play with you to the end. The other party's expression was very ugly. The thunder that Zichun had summoned was too terrifying. He wasn't much stronger than Xingyiheng, so as long as Zichun could still use that move, he would definitely die. The atmosphere became very quiet. The existence of the Holy Star Clan didn't dare to go up, but he was obviously unwilling to give up the immortal armor. In front of so many people, he obviously didn't want to lose face for the Holy Star Clan. So, the two sides were in a stalemate. At this moment, a tyrannical aura came from behind. As everyone turned around, they saw a flash of thunder light appear one after another. The reinforcements of the Holy Thunder Clan had finally arrived. The leader was Lei Wuxing, followed by Lei Wushuang, and behind him were experts of the Holy Thunder Clan surging with tyrannical auras. With the arrival of the reinforcements, everyone's attention fell on Lei Wuxing and the others. At this moment, everyone's attention was drawn back. The previous battle had also revolved around that mountain peak. Now that the reinforcements had arrived, did it mean that the mountain under Zichun's feet really had a great opportunity? I know. Chapter 3577. Originally, everyone's attention was on Lei Wuxing and the others, thinking about the opportunity. As for the confrontation between Zichun and the Sacred Star Tribe, no one paid attention to it anymore. Hu Huanshan's words made him the focus of everyone's attention. It must be nearby. Hu Huanshan said loudly, the real opportunity is around here. This place is just a cover. He's just using it to stall for time. Hu Huanshan pointed at himself and said excitedly, everyone, you have to believe me. The real opportunity is nearby. As he said that, he looked at Zichun provocatively. Zichun was stunned and a little dumbfounded. Wasn't his imagination a little too rich? However, the change in his expression in the eyes of everyone gave them the feeling that their guess was true. Therefore, some people began to take out command flags and set them on the other mountains. The command flags shone brightly, covering an area of thousands of feet. In a moment, the area where Zichun set his flag was occupied by command flags. Among them, Hu Huanshan set down one, Lei Zhenghong set down two, and the others were all command flags of external forces. In the blink of an eye, the area of thousands of miles was occupied. Seeing the light shields of the command flags, Zichun was completely stunned. Lei Wuxing and the others were even more confused. They had just arrived and didn't know what was going on. Why was everyone setting down their flags? He led a group of experts and descended from the sky, landing beside Zichun and asking, what's going on? Zichun spread his hands and said, I'm not sure either. Where's the opportunity? Lei Wuxing asked again. Zichun pointed around. Under such circumstances, do you think there's still an opportunity? So, that guy was right? Lei Wushuang asked anxiously. She didn't stop all the way and rushed over as fast as she could. She didn't expect to hear such news. Zichen didn't say anything. Instead, he looked around and his expression changed slightly. Hu Huanshan was very proud of himself. Even though he had been tricked by Zichen 9 times, as long as he obtained this opportunity, everything was worth it. The experts of the Holy Thunder clan landed around the mountain peak and looked at each other in dismay. "Wait a moment," Zichen said. "What are we waiting for?" Lei Wuxing asked. "Wait for dawn." After he finished speaking, Zichen fell silent. As for the original Saint Star clan, all of them had already left. They didn't dare to make a move before, and now that Lei Wuxing had personally come, it was even more impossible for them to make a move. Speaking of which, as the leader of the Holy Thunder clan, Lei Wuxing would never support the Holy Star clan like Lei Zhenghongtian. The people of the Holy Thunder clan appeared to be very quiet within a radius of 300 feet. However, the surrounding areas were very lively. The flags were casually placed everywhere as if they didn't cost anything. Of course, no one fought, because no one knew if there would be a fortuitous opportunity under their flag. Sometimes, someone would look at Zichen, but after seeing that Zichen was cultivating, they would ignore him. Because the nearby areas were all occupied, there was no place to place the flags. Lei Wuxing and the others could only wait here. The night passed quickly. According to the previous agreement, the place occupied by Zichen was considered to be guarded. If it wasn't for Hu Huanshan's interruption yesterday, a battle would have broken out in the end, and it might have been very tragic. Speaking of which, the other party had done a good thing. Of course, Lei Wuxing's arrival was also very important. This gave him enough confidence to reveal the biggest secret. Seeing Zichen stand up, Lei Wuxuang, who was lazily leaning on the side in a daze, turned his head to look at him and asked, "Now it's time to say it, right? The opportunity is right under our feet." Zichen pointed to the mountain peak below and said, "According to the agreement, this place is occupied by us." What? Everyone's expression changed, and they felt that it was unbelievable. Yesterday, they already knew what Zichen had done. Could it be that he really exposed the biggest opportunity in this place to everyone? "Are you sure?" Lei Wuxuang stood up, still somewhat in disbelief. "Very sure. Get someone here," Zichen said in a deep voice. "The opportunity in this place is no small matter. Get more people here." Looking at Zichen's serious expression, Lei Wuxing nodded. Obviously, Zichen wouldn't joke about this kind of thing. Next, a large number of experts from the Holy Thunder clan gathered at this place. In just 2 days, all the members of the Holy Thunder clan who were in the depths of the place had gathered here. Of course, because of the conflict between Hu Huanshan and Zichen, Lei Wuxing left Hu Huanshan to his own devices and didn't call his people over. Lei Zhenghong had already lost the qualification to participate in the trial, so he was no longer on the list of people to be recruited. At this time, the existences of the other forces had already scouted the surroundings, but didn't find anything unusual. However, the gathering of the experts from the Holy Thunder clan still made everyone very puzzled. "If you think that these people are not safe, then I will provoke more people to come over," Lei Wuxing said. "More people?" Zichen was very surprised. After all, this time, there were many areas that needed manpower. The number of people from the Holy Thunder clan that came was already very terrifying. In view of the many resources found this time, the Holy Thunder clan intends to send 1/10 of their strength. Those experts are already on their way and will be here soon. Hearing Lei Wuxing's words, Zichen gasped, and there was a hint of shock in his eyes. The Holy Thunder clan had developed for many years and had countless holy spirits. This time, they actually sent 1/10 of their experts to this place, which showed how much importance they attached to this place. In that case, Zichen was no longer in a hurry and decided to wait a little longer. This place was no small matter. As soon as they appeared, they might be besieged by other forces. Therefore, in the process of waiting, Zichen continued to explore other areas, which made Hu Huanshan even more proud. During this time, the existence of the Holy Star clan came to negotiate. Naturally, it was for the immortal armor, but Lei Wuxing decisively refused. The reason he gave was that life and death were up to fate, and the spoils of war belonged to the winner. Lei Wuxing, who usually didn't ask about other things, was very strong this time. The people of the Holy Star clan couldn't do anything to Lei Wuxing. At present, Lei Wuxing was the first among all the forces to arrive at this place with the highest leader. After many days of waiting, the number of holy spirits of the Holy Thunder clan increased, which made people even more puzzled. With so many experts of the Holy Thunder clan gathered, it was a kind of pressure for all the forces. Some people even secretly guessed that the people of the Holy Thunder clan were preparing to forcibly attack the world ahead. Did they want to take the first credit? At this time, Ziqian, who was still exploring other mountain ranges, returned to the original mountain peak. Under everyone's gaze, he used the Eye of Destruction. Chapter 3578. A huge ancient tree appeared on the top of the mountain. It was lush and verdant, reaching straight into the sky. An ancient aura spread out with the appearance of the ancient tree. Perceiving this aura, everyone's attention fell on the top of the mountain. For a moment, there were exclamations everywhere. The holy spirits in the distance flew over, and the tyrannical aura fluctuations filled the surroundings. Formation. Lei Wuxing, who had been ready for a long time, shouted, "Those who dare to trespass will be killed without mercy." Many holy spirits from the Holy Thunder clan flew in all directions, and their auras were fully released. Countless lightning bolts shot up into the sky like countless thunder dragons. The scene was extremely spectacular. Their energy was not the same, but their essence was the same. They were all thunder holy spirits. Their eyes were as cold as lightning, and there was a real killing intent in their eyes. All the holy spirits stopped at the periphery, looking shocked. Hu Huanshan, didn't you say there was no opportunity there? Lei Jinghongtian was also blocked outside. At this moment, he looked at Hu Huanshan beside him, and his face gradually turned pale. Being questioned by Lei Jinghongtian, Hu Huanshan's face naturally did not look good. He had been tricked by Zichun 9 times. He thought he was right the 10th time, but he was still tricked. However, there was only a tree in front of them, and it looked a little old. There should be no opportunity there. Facing Lei Jinghongtian's accusation, he said in a deep voice, "Young Master Tian, don't worry. It's just a tree. There's no great opportunity. The reason why they made such a big fuss is actually for that city." Really? Lei Jinghongtian looked at him with doubt. Hu Huanshan said confidently, "I've been wrong 10 times. Will I be wrong 11 times in a row? This guy is just pretending to be mysterious. He's just trash." However, just as he finished speaking, Ziqian, who was at the top of the mountain, suddenly pointed his finger forward. Then, ripples appeared on the thick trunk of the tree. The ripples spread and became countless. As the countless ripples surged, a passage appeared from within. Hu Huanshan was stunned and quickly closed his mouth, unable to say anything. This slap in the face came too quickly. It's a world. Lei Jinghongtian turned his head to look at Hu Huanshan. His teeth were clenched, and his anger was overflowing. Cries of surprise could be heard all around. The holy spirits on the periphery were in a commotion. Anyone who tries to enter the 300 zhang radius will be killed without mercy. Lei Wuxing's cold voice came from the peak of the mountain. On the other hand, Lei Wuxuang tilted her head as her beautiful eyes sized up Zichun. Her eyes were filled with curiosity. At this moment, she clearly understood why Zichun was so cautious. What he discovered was no longer a mineral vein or a resource, but an unknown world. There might not be many resources here, but there could also be a limitless future. Perhaps the soul-gathering crystal mine was here? Isn't your Holy Thunder clan a little too overbearing? A dissatisfied voice sounded. According to the rules, this place has already been occupied by us. Naturally, it's our territory. What do you mean by tyrannical? Lei Wuxuang turned around and said coldly. Zichun looked at the passage that appeared in the ancient tree. He turned back to Lei Ba and said, "You take some people in first. Remember to protect Lei Lan." Lei Ba was wearing an immortal armor. It was obtained by Zichun when he killed the Holy Star clan a few days ago. He gave it to Lei Ba as a half-gift and half-exchange. Of course, Zichun didn't believe that Lei Ba couldn't get the armor. But since he insisted on completing the deal, Zichun naturally agreed. It was a way to make friends. Lei Ba, who had obviously become much closer to Zichun, patted his chest and said, "Brother, don't worry. As long as I'm alive, your sister-in-law's life will definitely not be in danger." Zichun was stunned when he heard that. What was this? Even the usually cheerful Lei Lan was caught off guard by Lei Ba's words. She blushed. "Don't talk nonsense to ruin my innocence." Zichun waved his hand and said, "Lei Ba, you guys go in too. You must be careful this time." These people had followed Zichun all the way to this place. They were absolutely loyal and reliable. Naturally, they couldn't miss this opportunity to explore and make contributions. "Sir, you're not going in?" Lei Ba, who was about to go on an adventure, asked with a surprised expression. Zichun shook his head and said, "No, I'll guard outside." This time, not only would Zichun not go in, even Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang wouldn't go in either. Compared to the unknown world ahead, the outside world needed more experts to guard it. In other words, the outside world was more dangerous. Zichun and Lei Bai's people all walked into the passage. Following them were the people arranged by Lei Wuxing, who also entered one after another. In the blink of an eye, about half of the experts who came here had left. Only half of them were left to guard this place. Outside the crowd, due to the reduction of the Holy Thunder Clan's guards, the holy spirits of the various forces were in a commotion. The opportunity was clearly in front of them. They were unwilling to be indifferent to it. At this moment, many people were cursing Hu Huanshan in their hearts. If it wasn't for that idiot's nonsense last time, they might have already attacked this place. The commotion outside was getting more and more intense. A battle was about to break out. Under such circumstances, the Holy Thunder Clan obviously had to face all the forces. Zichun's expression was indifferent. The holy talisman in his hand flew out and flew towards the sky. It was the furious thunder roar. Seeing the dozens of holy talismans flying in the sky, Lei Zheng Hongtian's already ugly expression became even more gloomy. After such a long time, he naturally knew where the holy talisman came from. It should have belonged to the Lei Zheng family, but it was given to Zichun. Then, Zichun made a great contribution. This time, the other teams of the Holy Thunder Clan were able to guard their respective areas because of the furious thunder roar. Zichun had made another great contribution. As soon as the holy talisman was released, the power of thunder began to surge, but it did not shatter. Obviously, once the battle broke out, Zichun would immediately use it to give the Holy Thunder Clan a strong support. In addition to Lei Wuxing, Lei Wushuang, and Zichun, who was wearing the Immortal King armor, the Holy Thunder Clan's strength was undoubtedly very strong. Because Zichun had already shown his ability to break through armor a few days ago, only the other 17 Immortal King armors would be able to suppress him now. However, those people were guarding the periphery at this time. How could they make it in time? At this time, in the Holy Thunder Clan's camp, 17 leaders wearing Immortal King armors were all gathered here with respectful expressions. In front of them, a young man stood and spoke frankly to the leaders. It was the Holy Thunder Clan's ancestor. In such close contact with the sacred venerate of the Holy Thunder Clan, the leaders were very reserved. They only listened and did not speak. "I believe you all know about the armor of the 18 Immortal King armors." The ancestor glanced at the leaders and said, "If you want to get the real great opportunity, you can only get the armor of the 18 Immortal King armors. I called you here at this time to suggest that we join forces." The leaders looked at each other and still did not speak. The ancestor obviously did not listen to their opinions and continued. "You should also know that the Immortal King armor of the Holy Thunder Clan is in Zichun's possession. I believe he has the strength to have the Immortal King armor." At this time, the ancestor was discussing matters in the main hall of the camp. Outside, the experts of the Holy Thunder Clan were guarding the place in layers, nominally to ensure safety. However, outside the protection, the holy spirits who wanted to contact their leaders were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. During this time, they had sent a lot of messages, but their leaders did not give a single response or even an order. "What's the hurry? Do you think something can happen here?" A leader of the Sacred Thunder Tribe said unhappily. "Nothing happened here, but something happened in the depths," a holy spirit said anxiously. "Even if it's a big matter, it has to wait until the meeting is over." At this moment, The group of anxious holy spirits seemed to have understood something. Chapter 3579. Zichun did not know how great the opportunity here was, but he knew that it was extremely important. Therefore, when he mobilized many experts, he had to set up a trap in the periphery and leave the 17 immortal king armors behind. Otherwise, when they came to the depths, even if he could not give up this place, he would definitely share it with them. He had worked hard to find this place of opportunity, so he was naturally unwilling to share it with other forces. As long as the 17 immortal king armors were blocked, and they could not send orders, then the army outside would not be able to come. Even if it was only delayed for a few days, plus the time when the army went deep, it was enough for the Holy Thunder Clan to completely understand the situation in that unknown world. Lei Wuxing looked at Zichun with some admiration in his heart. As expected of someone who had walked step by step from the 10,000 spirit realm, his wisdom and scheming were even more terrifying than many old monsters. Unknowingly, the interests of the Holy Thunder Clan were already the biggest. His sister Lei Wuxuang's beautiful eyes flashed continuously. She was very interested in Zichun and had been sticking to him. The reinforcements of the Holy Thunder Clan were still arriving, and their numbers were increasing. After these people arrived, they would replace the original people to guard this place, and then those who were originally guarding the place would enter the world of the ancient tree to explore. Zichun, the 3 strongest experts, still stayed on the mountain peak. The meeting of the bloodline ancestor lasted for 3 days. However, during these 3 days, the forces still did not come to a conclusion. Therefore, the meeting ended. Looking at the people leaving, a faint smile appeared on the bloodline ancestor's face. Outside, there were bursts of cheers, followed by the curses of the leaders. They would not dare to curse the Saint Venerable even if they had 10 times the courage. Naturally, they were cursing their subordinates. Why didn't they hurry up and arrange for people to enter the depths? 3 days had passed, and it would take a long time to reach the depths. Once they arrived, would there still be any gains? At the same time, the leaders also felt very wronged. A powerful Saint Venerable actually used such a method to scheme against them. What was this called? However, no matter how late it was, they still had to enter the depths. Lei Wuxing heard the news when the troops in the camp set off. He immediately waved his hand and signaled for everyone to enter the tunnel behind him. The surrounding holy spirits all walked in one after another. Then, Zichun turned around. Just when everyone thought that Zichun was going to enter, they saw Zichun wave his sleeve. Light flashed in his eyes, and the ancient tree and the entrance disappeared. Everyone was dumbfounded, because after the ancient tree disappeared, this place looked exactly the same as before. During this time, many people used their eye techniques to investigate, but to no avail. Clearly, only Zichun's eye technique would be able to find the opportunity here. The holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan who had come here, and those who had been recognized had all walked in. There were thousands of them. Under such circumstances, even if there was a great danger inside, they should be able to resist it if they worked together. Therefore, Zichun and the other 2 only needed to wait here. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the holy spirits of the various powers finally arrived. The 17 immortal king armors in the lead were very eye-catching. After the various powers appeared, they headed straight in this direction. Zichun sat on the mountain peak and looked into the distance, ignoring the people who came. Lei Wuxuang sat beside Zichun as she swung her spotlessly white legs. She merely glanced behind her before continuing to ask, "In that case, it wasn't easy for you to come to the Saint Spirit world?" "It's not just not easy, it's simply a miracle." After recounting some of the past, Zichun said, "I've experienced countless life and death crises. Fortunately, my luck has always been good, and I've made it through." Then, he let out a low sigh and said, "No matter which world it is, it's actually the same. There are always all kinds of troubles and conflicts, but to put it bluntly, it's all about profit." Everything was for profit. Whether it was when he was weak back then, or now that he had become a holy spirit, this sentence was still valid. Lei Wuxuang tilted her head and looked at Zichun. "I didn't expect you to be so experienced." The 2 of them could ignore the leaders, but Lei Wuxing couldn't. He stood up and looked at the leaders who were heading straight for this place and said, "Everyone, what's the matter?" At this time, Zichun was still chatting with Lei Wushuang and didn't pay attention to the people behind him. This area had been sealed again, and other than him, no one else could open it. "Lei Wuxing, you've gone too far this time," one of the leaders said coldly. "How so? Tell me about it." Lei Wuxing smiled faintly. The leader opened his mouth, but didn't dare to say that the Holy Senior had plotted against them. The Holy Senior's status was extraordinary. According to the previous agreement, this is the territory of the Holy Thunder Clan, and our people have been guarding it for many days. As for your territory, it's around here. Lei Wuxing pointed at the surrounding mountains and said. The leaders' faces turned ugly, but Lei Wuxing's words made sense. "Lei Wuxing, an agreement is an agreement, but some things are beyond the agreement." Another leader said, "The biggest opportunity here is in the hands of the Holy Thunder Clan. Don't you feel that it's hot to take it away so easily?" Lei Wuxing said indifferently, "It's our opportunity. Of course, we don't feel that it's hot to take." Lei Wuxing, stop pretending. The opportunity is too big. I'm afraid the Holy Thunder Clan won't be able to take it all. The leader said coldly, "So, why don't you share the opportunity with us?" "Share? If you got the opportunity, would you share it?" Lei Wuxing asked coldly. "Of course. Our purpose for coming here is to share resources." When the leader spoke, the other leaders were silent. Obviously, they agreed. "What if I don't share it?" Lei Wuxing asked. The leader's gaze swept past Zichun and the other two. "Then unfortunately, we'll take the Holy Thunder Clan's Immortal King armor and these two immortal armors. Speaking of which, as a leader, you can't even wear the Immortal King armor. What kind of leader are you?" The leader pointed at Zichun and said disdainfully, "I think I'd better talk to this 4-star leader. Maybe he knows better than you. Kid, turn around and talk to me." Zichun, who had no intention of getting involved in this matter, didn't expect the flames of war to extend to him so quickly. He stood up and looked back at the leader who spoke. "Are you talking to me? 4-star kid, you should know the rules, right?" The leader looked at Zichun and said disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me with this attitude?" Chapter 3580. The surroundings instantly became quiet, and it lasted for a few breaths of time. The leader, who had a look of disdain earlier, was completely stunned. The other leaders beside him were also stunned. They were 17 leaders wearing Celestial King armors, and their combat power was naturally the strongest. However, Zichun, a 4-star, actually dared to treat a 6-star leader with such an attitude. "You're courting death." Ming Tai's face immediately turned cold. He had been so domineering since the beginning because he had the support of many forces, so he had nothing to fear. However, who would have thought that a mere 4-star would dare to speak to him with such an attitude? Zichun sized Ming Tai up and said disdainfully, "How can an idiot like you be a leader?" "Kid, do you know who you're talking to?" Before Ming Tai could finish, he was interrupted by Zichun. "You don't have to tell me where you're from, because I don't care about the forces you're talking about. You just have to remember that I'm from the Holy Thunder Clan, and you're provoking the dignity of the Holy Thunder Clan." "That's enough. What an arrogant kid. Today, I, Ming Tai, want to see what you're capable of." Ming Tai's aura surged, and the Celestial King armor was activated by him. The other leaders didn't say anything, but watched silently. Wasn't this the result they wanted? In this cultivation world, combat power always determined everything. Why could the 4 great sacred clans and the 5 great families occupy a world by themselves? Because of their powerful combat power. Zichun waved his hand again and said, "I haven't finished speaking, so please wait a moment. Even if I'm in a hurry to be reincarnated, I don't mind saying a few words. If you have something to say it quickly. Today, I, Ming Tai, will kill you." The other party said coldly, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. "I want to tell you 2 things, which are also for everyone present. Your death is only slightly related to offending me. The ultimate cause of your death is that you didn't abide by the rules that we agreed on in advance. People who don't even know the rules don't deserve to live in this world. Secondly, You dare to disregard the dignity of the Holy Thunder Clan. This is not putting the Holy Thunder Clan in your eyes. You dare to provoke the Holy Thunder Clan. You can only atone for your sins with death. Zichen said, in other words, there are 2 reasons why you must die. All right, I'm done. You can come over and accept your death. Many of the holy spirits from the surrounding forces had stopped in their tracks. When they heard Zichen mention the cause of death, they exchanged awkward glances with each other. It should be known that although Zichen's battle prowess was powerful, he was still only a 4-star, after all. Even if he had an invincible defensive Celestial King armor, Ming Tai also had one. Let me ask you, under the circumstances that both of you have the Immortal King armor, how could you look down on your opponent? All the leaders had strange expressions on their faces. They felt that Zichen's words were a little too arrogant. Lei Wushuang smiled. A member of the Holy Thunder Clan should be so courageous. Even if I can't kill you, I'll defeat you with words first. As the saying goes, one does not suffer losses. She began to admire Zichen more and more. Die. Ming Tai charged towards Zichen, surging with murderous intent. A terrifying aura swept over. Lei Wuxing immediately retreated. He actually did not interfere in this matter. In everyone's eyes, this seemed to be a battle between gentlemen. In reality, Lei Wuxing felt that there was no need for him to interfere. Zichen was forming a seal. Of course, it was the lightning controlling technique. He had used this move too many times and had long become incomparably adept at it. Seal completed. Lightning fell. Heaven and earth roared. A blinding white light appeared. It was as if a lightning dragon had broken through the wall from the outer world and landed on Ming Tai's body. Ming Tai's body began to glow. Countless lightning bolts bloomed from within. At this moment, in the sky above the divine city, when that lord saw this scene, he let out a cry of surprise. Lord, is there a problem? The subordinate standing behind him asked. One should know that even when the peak of the mountains was discovered, the lord did not make a sound. He only watched calmly. That move of his seems to have the aura of an otherworldly immortal, said the lord of the immortal clan. The aura of an otherworldly immortal? The subordinate behind him was stunned, somewhat confused. The lord of the immortal clan looked up at the sky and muttered in a low voice, perhaps this move of his is from an otherworldly immortal. Since there are traces of that place, we will definitely succeed this time. The bright lightning disappeared. Zichen stood on the peak of the mountain, his expression still cold. Under the disappearance of the lightning, there was a charred corpse and a complete set of Immortal King armor. Ming Tai was dead. Everyone was in an uproar. Especially the leaders, each and every one of them widened their eyes in shock as they stared at Zichen. They also had Immortal King armor, so their combat strength was not weak. However, it was not easy to kill Ming Tai. But to Zichen, it only took one move. He killed the enemy with one move. Lei Wuxing shook his head slightly, feeling pity for Ming Tai. Why did he have to court death? At the same time, he was also shocked by the power of the lightning controlling technique. He knew a little about this technique. It was said that only 2 people in the Holy Thunder Clan could master it. One was a senior of the Holy Thunder Clan who had died many years ago. His realm and background were unknown. He seemed to be extremely mysterious. There were no records of him in the Holy Thunder Clan. The second was Zichen. Lei Wushuang ran to Zichen's side and looked at him curiously as if he wanted to see through him. Swoosh! Zichen's figure disappeared. The next moment, he appeared beside the dead Ming Tai. How precious was a set of Immortal King armor. Stop! However, just as he was about to take the Immortal King armor, a shout suddenly came from behind. A holy spirit came forward. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang, who had been indifferent all this time, flew forward at the same time and struck out several palms. All the holy spirits were repelled. Zichen returned to the mountain peak again and said calmly, Everyone, there are only 16 left now. I wonder which one of you wants to go back on your words and break the rules. Lei Wuxing, who had frightened the other holy spirits and returned to the mountain peak, couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Zichen's words were very clever. He asked the experts to go back on their words and break the rules instead of continuing to provoke the dignity of the Holy Thunder Clan. Obviously, this was to save some face for everyone and to pave the way for everyone. At the same time, that sentence also meant that Zichun could still use the previous attack. For a moment, the 16 leaders fell silent. Zichun had already proven his strength. Even if they were wearing the Immortal King armor, their lives would still be in danger. Even if they guessed that Zichun wouldn't use such a move more than a few times, who among the 16 of them wanted to be the first to be cannon fodder and make a wedding dress for someone else? However, they weren't willing to retreat just like that. The lord from the Immortal Clan looked at the scene in front of him and said calmly, "This efficiency is too slow. Give them some information." Yes. The person behind him nodded and disappeared. A moment later, a strong spiritual aura erupted from the immortal city. This aura swept out from the city like a wave. Sensing this strong spiritual fluctuation, the spirits of all the holy spirits shook. Their spiritual realms, which had been stagnant for a long time, seemed to have improved a little at this time. Chapter 3581. After coming back to their senses, the leaders finally understood the ultimate purpose of coming here. No matter how many opportunities the Holy Thunder Clan obtained, as long as they found the soul-amassing crystal lode, their harvest would be 10 times or even 100 times that of the Holy Thunder Clan. The leaders wearing the Immortal King armor looked at each other and were still hesitant. Lei Wuxing said with a smile, "It seems that the soul-amassing crystal lode is about to appear. Why don't I suggest that the first person to find the lode share it with everyone?" The smile on his face inevitably carried a hint of sarcasm. If they had to share the things that they had painstakingly obtained with others, which force would be willing to risk their lives to find it? Wouldn't it be better to just stay there and wait for a ready-made opportunity? It was the same at the moment. Why should the Holy Thunder Clan share the opportunities that they had obtained with others? The leaders looked at each other. In a situation where no one was willing to be cannon fodder, they naturally did not dare to start a war with Zichun. In that case, they might as well do the Holy Thunder Clan a favor. The mighty one from the Holy Sun Clan then said, "If that's the case, let's discuss how we should attack this immortal city. Since there are so many opportunities outside, who can guarantee that there is nothing inside?" The other leaders nodded in agreement. This immortal city was very large, and it would not be easy to attack it. It would require the cooperation of many forces. At this time, it would be unavoidable for them to lose more than gain if they were to have a conflict with the Holy Thunder Clan. Everything else is easy to discuss, but the Holy Thunder Clan must return the Immortal King armor. At this moment, a voice came from behind. It was an existence wearing the Immortal King armor. It was the clansman of Ming Tai who had died previously. Since the forces were no longer thinking about the opportunities of the Holy Thunder Clan, Zichun did not care about the Immortal King armor, although he had a great impulse to keep it. Once Lei Wuxing obtained this armor, his combat strength would naturally increase, and the combat strength of the Holy Thunder Clan would also increase. Unexpectedly, just as Zichun was about to agree, a voice suddenly rang out. "Lord Zichun, our Qin family is willing to buy as many of these armors as we can. We hope that you can make it easy for us." In an instant, several people transmitted their voices to him. This caused Zichun, who was about to return the Celestial King armor, to be slightly stunned. Following this, Zichun came to a realization. Ming Tai, who had died, should have been the result of many factions working together to conquer this world. Although he did not know why Ming Tai had obtained the Celestial King armor, it was clear that the other factions were not convinced. "What's wrong?" Lei Wuxing looked at Zichun, who had a strange expression on his face. Zichun said, "Something interesting happened." The person wearing the immortal armor seemed to have guessed the reason. He immediately said, "My lord, that Immortal King armor originally belonged to the Mu Ming family. I hope that my lord can return it." Clearly, at this moment, his attitude towards Zichun had become extremely polite. Nonsense. Previously, the Immortal King armor was Ming Tai's. Now that Ming Tai has been killed by my lord, it naturally belongs to my lord. At this moment, an indifferent voice rang out. Another person wearing the immortal armor walked out. "That's right. If this was on the battlefield, would you be able to take back the armor?" Another person stood out. The others looked at each other. Clearly, They did not expect that someone would actually stand out and have designs on the Immortal King armor. However, when they thought of the indestructible defense of the Immortal King armor, everyone understood. So troublesome? Zichun frowned slightly. The person from the Qin family immediately clasped his fists and said, "Actually, it's not troublesome at all. Because the Immortal King armor was originally my lord's spoils of war, it's naturally up to my lord to decide." When Zichun heard this, he smiled slightly and said, "In that case, it's up to you to arrange it." With that, Zichun threw the Immortal King armor to the Qin family's sacred spirit that he had never met before. The other party was stunned at first, but then there was a hint of ecstasy in his eyes. He immediately clasped his fists and said, "Thank you, my lord." Zichun was not stupid. He knew that the factions would definitely not let the Holy Thunder Clan have 2 pieces of the Immortal King armor. Therefore, this thing would have to be handed over sooner or later. Since there was a dispute between the 2 sides, Zichun was naturally willing to hand it over to someone who was beneficial to him. The sacred spirit from the Muring family glared at Zichun. However, at this time, the Immortal King armor was no longer in Zichun's hands. He had no choice but to ask for it from the Qin family. Lei Wuxing and the others went to discuss the matter of entering the world, while Zichun stayed on the mountain peak. Lei Wuxuang did not follow but stayed by Zichun's side. "I say, did you really use the lightning controlling technique just now?" She was very curious. Zichun nodded. "You can kill the enemy in one move?" Lei Wuxuang asked again. Zichun thought for a moment and nodded. Basically, there was only one exception. The exception that Zichun mentioned was the last time when he fought the demonic spirit dragon. At that time, the demonic spirit dragon took a blow from the lightning controlling technique but did not die. Zichun deliberately restrained his power, but the demonic spirit dragon's extraordinariness was also the main reason. "Why don't you teach me?" Lei Wuxuang's eyes lit up. She finally said what she was passionate about. Zichun looked at Lei Wuxuang and did not say anything. "What? You don't want to? If I learn that move, my combat strength will naturally be stronger. At that time, the strength of our Holy Thunder Clan will naturally increase." Hearing Lei Wuxuang's righteous words, Zichun's expression became even more strange. He said with a smile, "I didn't expect you to know this move too." Lei Wuxuang's cheeks were slightly red. She glared at Zichun and said, "Forget it if you don't want to teach me. There are no good men." Zichun said with a smile, "What do you mean by that?" "But the lightning controlling technique is extraordinary. It can't be taught." Zichun did not lie about this. He actually did not know how he learned the lightning controlling technique. Of course, he could not teach it. A moment later, Lei Wuxing returned. "How was it?" Zichun looked at him and asked. "Wait for reinforcements to arrive, then attack the city," Lei Wuxing said. "What should we do after discovering the soul-gathering crystal mine?" Lei Wuxuang asked. "It'll naturally belong to whoever discovers it," Lei Wuxing said indifferently. "When it involves other people's interests, no one will relent. I've already sent a message to the bloodline ancestor. Reinforcements will arrive in time." He looked at the immortal city in front of him with a deep gaze. "I'm afraid it won't be so easy to enter the depths this time." Zichun nodded in agreement. There were traces of people living in the original 18 worlds, but this time, only a small number of immortals appeared. The others were clearly in that city. Once they entered the city, there would be a great battle. The next step was to wait. With the arrival of more and more reinforcements, the invasion of the city was imminent. At this time, Zichun opened the summit of mountains for the second time. Because he estimated the time, Lei Lan and the others would come out soon. It was not that he was reluctant to part with the Immortal King armor, but he did not want to give up the opportunity to make the greatest contribution to the Holy Thunder Clan. Zichun said, "The soul-gathering crystal mine is extraordinary. Even if our harvest this time is not small, compared to the soul-gathering crystal mine, it is just a drop in the ocean. In name, there are only 18 Immortal King armors, but there are no less than 100 forces. Under such circumstances, the probability of obtaining an opportunity is not more than 1%. Lei Wuxing said, "Under such circumstances, having an invincible sacred spirit does not mean much." This was the truth. If they really found the soul-gathering crystal mine, he believed that everyone was prepared to die, including those leaders. Under such circumstances, how many could Zichen kill? In fact, Lei Wuxing might even die in there. Obviously, under such circumstances, Lei Wuxing was really thinking for Zichen. Although in this place, the death of a sacred spirit only meant the loss of a physical body, to condense such a physical body again would require a great price. Zichen thought for a moment and said, "No matter what, I can't let anything happen to Lei Lan. Holy Venerable Lei Di left the Holy Thunder Clan because of me, so I must protect her well." Lei Wuxing said, "I have considered this problem. Lei Lan will also stay." Zichen looked back at Lei Wuxing. This friend he had not known for a long time was really looking out for him. However, Zichen shook his head and said, "Even if I am willing, Lei Lan will not agree. This is a rare opportunity. I believe she is also willing to sacrifice her life for the Holy Thunder Clan." Chapter 3583. A simple bracelet appeared in Lei Wuxing's hand. On the surface of the bracelet, there were countless runes. "What's this?" Looking at the obviously extraordinary bracelet, Zichen asked in confusion. "The tribe gave it to me before I came here. It's a pseudo-venerable seal. Once activated, it's equivalent to an attack from a saint venerable. Even if there's the suppression of the laws of heaven and earth in this area, it's still equivalent to an attack from a 9-star saint spirit. It should be able to kill all enemies in a moment of crisis," Lei Wuxing said. Zichen's expression changed when he heard this. If Lei Wuxing had such a thing, then the leaders of the other forces would naturally have similar things. Zichen looked at Lei Wuxing with a questioning look in his eyes. Lei Wuxing nodded and said, "Yes, everyone has it." In this way, Zichen's invincible saint spirit title would naturally be reduced. Those people didn't use it last time because they had scruples in their hearts. At the same time, because this thing was too precious, they felt that it would be a waste to use it on Zichen. Zichen's hand flashed and a spirit ring appeared. This was what he got after killing Di Mingtai last time. No need to look. There's definitely nothing. Lei Wuxing, who guessed Zichen's intention, said, "This thing is very valuable. There will be a secret method to take it away by force." Zichen checked it. There were many resources inside, but there was no venerable seal. He couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Seeing Zichen's insistence, Lei Wuxing didn't stop him and even gave him such a life-saving treasure. Zichen didn't take it and shook his head. "You're the leader. This is yours. How can I take it away? I got a lot of immortal armors this time. I'll just refine one. As for the immortal king armor, I'll give it to you. Take it. I think it's more useful on you." Lei Wuxing forced the bracelet into Zichen's hand and warned, "You only have one chance. Use it as a last resort." With that, Lei Wuxing turned around and left. Zichen stared at Lei Wuxing's back. His expression became complicated. It wasn't that there weren't people who treated him so well, but there weren't many. There was only one person like Lei Wuxing, whom he had known for only a few months. "You don't have to thank me. I feel that this thing will be more useful if it's with you. Furthermore, I know that you truly care about the Holy Thunder Clan. Compared to the others, it's a lot better." Lei Wuxing's voice came from the front. He left without looking back. Zichen understood Lei Wuxing's intentions, but the gratitude in his heart still remained. There were unknown dangers in the immortal city. No one could predict life and death. Who doesn't know how to save their own lives? At this moment, another person walked over from afar. He came to Zichen's side and called out, "Sir." Zichen turned around and realized that it was the Saint Spirit from the Qin clan. Back then, he had given the Celestial King armor to him. "Thank you for what happened last time, sir." Qin clan Saint Spirit, Qin Yanhua, said, "It's just that our Qin clan didn't manage to get the Celestial King armor this time. It was taken away by the Muring clan. However, we also fought for some resources. We took out a portion of them to exchange for this thing for sir." An ancient aura appeared in front of Qin Yanhua. It was a talisman seal. Even in its sealed state, countless ripples still surged on its surface. "What is this?" Sensing the strong fluctuation, Zichen asked curiously. "We accidentally obtained the holy talisman technique. It's suspected to be from the ancient era. It's about the level of a 5-star saint. It's called Thunder Sweep. Qin Ruhua said, although Sir isn't a 5-star holy talisman master yet, I believe that it won't be long before you break through. Other than that, we also prepared some holy talisman papers. The holy talisman papers that Qin Ruhua took out were also of the 5th grade. It was obvious that he had prepared everything before coming. This was the other party's good intentions. It was also his intention in the past. Zichen didn't feel ashamed to accept it. He thanked him and accepted it. Sir, this time, the Celestial King armor was obtained by the Mumming clan because their celestial venerable ancestor is most likely guarding outside. Zichen nodded. Clearly, this was a warning. However, he wasn't worried because the bloodline ancestor was here. Once he left this place, the bloodline ancestor would follow him. They had specially sent him something useful in the future. Clearly, this was the Qin clan's intention to befriend him. Hence, after Zichen chatted with Qin Yanhua for a while, the other party bid farewell and left. They were about to enter the city. The group of forces had a final discussion and the itinerary was finally decided. All the saint spirits set off for the immortal city. Lei Wushuang was forced to stay because she had to guard this place. Although she was unwilling, she knew the importance of this matter. Although everyone would leave this time, no one could guarantee that the other forces wouldn't send people to snatch it. After all, the opportunity this time was too great. Zichen stood in the group and was particularly eye-catching because of his Celestial King armor. Beside him stood a group of saint spirits from the Holy Thunder clan wearing celestial armor. Among them were Lei Bai and Lei Ba. Lei Lan was on his left. She had special senses and was also the main force of this exploration of the immortal city. Lei Wuxing stood at the front. However, compared to the other 17 people, he was only wearing a celestial armor that was 1 grade lower. He was somewhat out of place. However, he didn't care and even rejected Zichen's suggestion to give him the Celestial King armor. Under the attention of countless saint spirits from the Holy Thunder clan, he raised his palm and slashed down like a blade. Attack! At the same time, the other 17 commanders also gave the order to attack. Battle cries rang out everywhere as countless saint spirits charged forward. Zichen looked forward, his gaze becoming extremely deep. He warned, everyone, be careful. Then, with their respective captains as the unit, the saint spirits formed a group and advanced. Lei Ba also joined Zichen's group and advanced side by side with Lei Bai. In another direction, Hu Huanshan officially formed an alliance with Lei Wuxing. Because he had been excluded by Lei Wuxing, he could only stay with Lei Wuxing. This time, he didn't gain anything. His family was already very dissatisfied, so he had to gain something this time. In the sky above the immortal city, the ruler looked at this scene indifferently. Countless saint spirits were like flying ants, densely packed together. He said indifferently, "Go, let them see our strength." Yes, the people behind him disappeared into thin air. The immortal city was very large, and there were countless buildings. After the saint spirits entered, they went straight for those buildings. Clearly, there might be opportunities inside. Boom! A building suddenly exploded, and a person soared into the sky. It was an immortal wearing celestial armor. He held an immortal saber in his hand and slashed at a 6-star saint spirit. The 6-star saint spirit blocked with his weapon and shouted at the same time, "Surround and kill him." With a loud boom, the 6-star saint spirit was sent flying, and a crack appeared on the saint spirit weapon in his hand. In terms of quality, the immortal weapons here were indeed extraordinary. Seeing this, the surrounding saint spirits all rushed forward. During this time, someone took out a saint talisman and crushed it. The shattered saint talisman appeared in midair and rushed toward the immortal like a fire dragon. This was a soul attack that sank directly into the immortal's sea of consciousness. Just as the immortal was dazed for a moment, several attacks came flying at him. All of them were soul attacks. The 6-star saint spirit that had been sent flying flew forward, and the weapon in his hand with a crack swept across the immortal's neck. Puff! Chapter 3584. After killing an immortal in the blink of an eye, the other holy spirits immediately turned around and formed a small circle around the immortal's corpse to protect it. At the same time, they were on guard against the other holy spirits. The value of immortal armor was too high, so it was inevitable that some people would try to steal it. After all, it was extremely difficult to kill an immortal, but it was easy to determine life and death in a battle between holy spirits. This was the prototype of an immortal hunting squad. In the following days, many teams like this appeared, all for the sake of killing immortals and obtaining immortal armor. And in this city, the biggest reward was the immortal armor on the immortals. Every immortal had one, which was extremely extravagant. Zichen and Lei Ba's people formed a team of more than 100 people. During this time, they split into smaller teams to kill immortals. Among them, Zichen's ghost spirit holy talisman was the main force of the battle. In this battle, he only needed to constantly activate the ghost spirit holy talisman. The situation on his side was relatively easy, but the situation on other sides was not optimistic. Immortals with immortal armor were too strong, so holy spirits were dying all the time on the battlefield. Holy blood splattered, dyeing the ground of the immortal city red. The immortal ruler looked down from the sky, watching his subordinates die one by one. His expression was cold and indifferent. The battle continued, and it was extremely tragic. The holy spirits of many factions suffered even more casualties. 3 ghost spirit holy talismans turned into 3 little ghost spirits, flying forward and entering an immortal sea of consciousness. When the immortal sea of consciousness was attacked, his speed was significantly reduced, and his combat strength was greatly reduced. Lei Bai quickly stepped forward and slashed his immortal sword at the immortal's neck. In other parts of the battlefield, it seemed that no one was having a smoother time than Zichen's side. Suddenly, Zichen looked up at the sky above the immortal city, frowning slightly. Lei Lan, who was standing beside him, noticed Zichen's abnormality and asked, "What's wrong?" Zichen said, "Something's not right." At this time, light flowed in his eyes, but it was the eye of destruction. He looked up at the sky. In the previously invisible sky, there were now traces of energy, emitting multicolored light, flying into the sky and entering it. That power was the life force that was flowing away, as well as the dissipation of soul power. But why would his life force and soul power enter the sky? For some reason, Zichun felt a strong sense of unease as he looked at the blue sky. "What's wrong?" Lei Lan asked again. Zichun shook his head and said, "It's nothing. Maybe it was just my imagination." What sharp senses! Up in the sky, the immortal sovereign caught sight of Zichun. Their eyes met, but Zichun did not see him. However, the fact that the other party was able to notice the abnormality in this place was sufficient to show that his eye technique was extraordinary. "The first stage shouldn't be too difficult for you all," the immortal Hegemon muttered, "but the second stage will be much more difficult." While killing the immortals and obtaining the immortal armor, many of them also found some good quality immortal stones in the buildings. The battle quickly turned into a battle of plunder, and immortals died one after another. Speaking of which, Zichun and the others were invaders. But the immortals clearly did not think so. They called them ants, and their expressions were arrogant. Even though death was imminent, none of them chose to beg for mercy. Zichun looked ahead. There were many buildings here, and there were many immortals as well. But he still felt that something was wrong. It was a matter of numbers. There were 18 planets in the periphery, and there were some cities on those planets. There should have been many people living in those cities. If those people had all retreated to this main planet, that meant that there were countless immortals here. But what about those people? Although there were many immortals here, it was far from what they had expected. The battle continued, and the number of immortals dwindled. Everyone had obtained a lot of immortal armor, and in order to maximize their strength, they all wore it. When the last immortal was killed, everyone was preparing to search this place to see if there were any special areas. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the immortal city. "To be able to make it here, it seems that there are some slightly stronger ones among you ants. But if you want to obtain the greatest opportunity here, you are far from enough. Next, there will be a second great gift waiting for you." As the voice rang out, many of the Holy Spirit's hearts tightened. Although they had gained a lot here, the danger was not small. And judging from the other party's tone, it was obviously not a good thing. A straight ray of light appeared in the sky and landed in the center of the city. Then, the light began to expand. There was no powerful aura, only a real light that kept expanding. Many of the holy spirits were stunned, not understanding what it meant. The light was expanding rapidly, and it was obviously going to fill the entire immortal city. No one knew what it meant. The light swept past some of the holy spirits, and their faces immediately turned pale, as if they were under immense pressure. Buzz. At that moment, the immortal armor glowed, and an invisible field appeared, isolating the strong pressure. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The pressure from before was too terrifying. Who would have thought that at that moment, a scream would suddenly ring out beside them? It was their companions. Chapter 3585. The original surroundings were filled with corpses. There were immortals and sacred spirits of the various factions. However, after the light that descended from the sky enveloped the city, the corpses all turned into light spots and disappeared from the immortal city. In an instant, the place became extremely empty. Even the buildings could no longer be seen. It was as if they had encountered a world-destroying immortal light that destroyed everything in the world. The reason why they were able to survive was not because they were strong, but because of the immortal armor on their bodies. The immortal armor was protecting them at this moment. Even so, there was still a strong pressure on their bodies, causing many sacred spirits to feel a little uncomfortable. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed in front of them. They saw that there were winding stairways that went straight into the clouds. Perhaps it was a coincidence, but there were a total of 18 stairways. Other than that, there was nothing else. The leaders of the various factions looked at each other. Obviously, the 18 stairways meant 18 immortal king armors. No one knew which one had the greatest opportunity. This put everyone in a difficult position. Almost subconsciously, everyone looked towards Zichun because this time, the Holy Thunder Clan had obtained the most opportunities. Then, following them this time, would it mean that they would be able to obtain the greatest harvest? Unfortunately, other than these stairways, there were no other hints. On the Thunder Clan side, although Zichun was wearing the Immortal King armor, Lei Wuxing was the real leader. He turned his head to look at the other Immortal King armor leaders and said, "Everyone, please?" The group of leaders looked at each other, not immediately making a choice. Because at this moment, they saw Zichun use that eye technique. Perhaps there would be other discoveries. At this moment, the leader of the Holy Fire Clan said, "Brother Wuxing, why don't you go first?" The other leaders nodded and decided to let the Holy Thunder Clan make the choice first. Lei Wuxing looked at Zichun. Although he did not believe that Zichun could see the difference between these stairways, the light in Zichun's eyes disappeared and he said, "In that case, we won't be polite." Zichun pointed to the second stairway on the right and said, "Let's go." After that, Zichun led the team straight to that place. As soon as the Holy Spirit of the Holy Thunder Clan moved, it was like a torrent of thunder and lightning. However, right at that moment, a blazing wave of fire swept over. A huge sea of fire appeared in the sky. Inside that sea of fire were all holy spirits. It was none other than the Sacred Flame Clan. The leader of the Sacred Flame race stood above the sea of fire and smiled at Lei Wuxing. "Many thanks." Then, he turned his head and smiled mockingly at Zichun. Zichun remained indifferent. Those from the Sacred Flame tribe were the first to rush into the stairway. At this moment, the other leaders all had regretful expressions on their faces. Evidently, a place of opportunity had been seized just like that. However, they soon discovered that Zichun's expression did not change much, causing them to mutter in their hearts. What a bunch of idiots. With Zichun's cunning, how could he not have guessed this? Whether the first place has an opportunity or not is another matter, but it's definitely accompanied by great terror. Hu Huanshan smiled coldly. Lei Jinghongtian looked at the scene silently. After a while, he said, "Do you think the second place is real or fake?" Now, Zichun had chosen another place and was leading the team there. However, as soon as Lei Jinghongtian asked that question, he regretted it. If this idiot knew Zichun's thoughts, he would not have been cheated so miserably. If the first place is fake, then the second place must be fake too. Hu Huanshan did not notice the change in Lei Hongtian's mood and said confidently, however, they will still choose to go in. I believe Zichun can also guess this. Looking at the somewhat unfathomable Hu Huanshan, Lei Hongtian asked, why? Because if you make a choice, there's still a chance. If you give up, there may not even be a chance. When he said this sentence, Hu Huanshan's mood was a little depressed because he had a deep understanding of it. He knew some of Zichun's tricks, so when he dropped the flag, even if he guessed that Zichun might cheat him, he still chose to drop the flag. But who would have thought that Zichun would cheat him from the beginning to the end? In such a big world with countless resources, Hu Huanshan was the first person to get nothing from the beginning to the end. There was no doubt that the biggest joke this time was him. Sure enough, another force went ahead and surpassed Zichun to enter the second stairway. Zichun was still expressionless and continued to walk to the third stairway. Then, it was robbed again. Next, Zichun waved his hand and said, "You all stay here." After that, Zichun went to the fourth stairway alone. This scene made the other forces stunned. They did not know what Zichun was doing. But as Hu Huanshan said, even if all of this was fake, there was still a glimmer of hope. Since there was hope, they had to fight for it. Thus, another force went forward and surpassed Zichun. Following that, the scene of the snatching continued to appear one after another. One after another, the Immortal King armor leaders made a choice with the help of Zichun. In the end, there were only 4 stairways left and 4 forces. They were the Sun, Moon, Star, and Thunder sacred tribes. Zichun looked back at them and said, "Do you still want me to help you?" The leader of the Sacred Star tribe shook his head slightly and said with a smile, "That's not necessary. Just pick one." Zichun walked over. The 4 forces were here. In addition, there were also some idle forces standing in the distance, looking in this direction. Looking at Zichun walking over, the leader of the Sacred Star tribe said, "So, you didn't find anything this time?" Zichun's eyes flashed with a strange look. Then he nodded and said, "The 18 stairways look exactly the same." The other party continued, "So, you helped them make a choice? If I didn't do that, they would probably be stuck here for a long time." Zichun pointed to the last 4 stairways and said, "Which one do you choose next?" The leader of the Sacred Star tribe said, "The nearest one." At this time, Lei Wuxing said, "Strictly speaking, we are the invaders this time. But the other party opened the door and let us in. I have a feeling that things are not that simple." The other 3 leaders nodded. According to the powerful strength shown by the Immortals, they could definitely fight against the other forces, but they did not resist stubbornly. Although the Holy Thunder clan still suffered a lot of losses, the Immortals seemed to have the intention of opening the door. There may be unknown dangers on the stairways. If we can meet, I hope that everyone can work together," Lei Wuxing said again. The 3 leaders nodded for the second time. Chapter 3586. After the 4 factions had made their choices, the other idle factions followed one after another. During this time, Lei Hongye and Hu Huanshan's men were among them. "Where are we going?" Hu Huanshan asked. Lei Hongye pointed at one of the stairways and said, "There." Hearing this, Hu Huanshan's eyes widened. "Where are we going? They won't allow us to join." Lei Hongye said in a deep voice, "This is our only chance to turn the tables." After saying this, he walked forward, followed by the holy spirits of the Lei family. This time, the Holy Thunder clan had obtained a great harvest, but the Lei family's harvest was extremely small. This was because Lei Wuxing had deliberately neglected the Lei family in his arrangements. Because of this, the family was very dissatisfied. This was because the Holy Thunder clan had sent a full 10th of their experts to this place. This showed how important this place was to them. The Lei family would not allow themselves to be in this place without any harvest. Therefore, Lei Hongtian, who had lost the qualification to become a core member, was under unimaginable pressure. He wanted to turn the tables and even fight for the opportunity to become a core member. This was his only chance. Hu Huanshan led the Hu family members and followed. If he could turn back time, he would have befriended Zichun the moment he met him, instead of deliberately targeting him. Originally, he thought that he could completely ignore Zichun since he was on the Lei family's ship. Who would have thought that this time, He actually brought the Hu family to bet on the wrong person. From the latest news, Leijing Hongtian's status as the future successor of the Leijing family was now in jeopardy. Once the other party lost all his power, his previous promises would naturally be invalid. Therefore, he had no choice but to follow Leijing Hongtian. He was like a gambler who had used up all his wealth and put his life on the line, hoping to make a comeback. They chose the path that Zichun had taken. After Leijing Hongtian and the others left, Ink and the sixth young master also walked out. The two of them were also wearing immortal armor. Behind them were more than 10 powerful existences. Although there were not many of them, they were all experts who had mastered the spirit extermination technique. Do you really think that Zichun will be able to obtain the greatest opportunity? The sixth young master asked doubtfully. Emoi gazed at the stairway to heaven in front of him and said, "I'm not 100% sure." The sixth young master immediately opened his eyes wide and said in disbelief, "What? Not 100% sure? What is the purpose of our visit?" Ink retracted his gaze and looked at the sixth young master. If anyone can find the soul-amassing crystal lode this time, it will be Zichun. Therefore, if Zichun can't find the soul-amassing crystal vein, everyone will return empty-handed. "Let's go," Ink said. "Whether or not we can obtain the greatest opportunity here will depend on Zichun." The group of people followed Zichun. After entering the stairway to heaven, Zichun was a little surprised that there was no danger as he had imagined. He walked up the stairs and a wind blew from above. Zichun, who was wearing the Immortal King armor, felt a chill in his heart. "Everyone, be careful. This wind seems a little strange." Zichun looked around and then reminded everyone. Next, Zichun began to climb the seemingly endless stairs, step by step. As he got higher and higher from the ground, the wind that appeared around him also became stronger and stronger. Even though he was wearing the Immortal King armor, Zichun still felt the cold wind pass through the Immortal King armor and enter his body. Buzz! Lightning surged around his body as Zichun activated the Immortal King armor to a greater extent. Even he, who was wearing a high-quality Immortal King armor, needed to mobilize a greater extent of power, let alone the others. Everyone, including Lei Wuxing, raised the power of their Immortal King armor to the limit. Lei Wuxing, who was at the side, raised his head and looked at the stairs that reached into the clouds. He frowned slightly. If the current situation persisted, it would be difficult for everyone to reach the top. Refine the immortal stone and maintain the energy. At this moment, Zichun's voice suddenly sounding very decisive. At this moment, there was an immortal stone the size of a human head in his hand. It was of extremely high quality. When the others heard this, some of them followed Zichun and began to refine the immortal stone without hesitation. Some of them stared at Lei Wuxing with hesitation. "Refine it at full speed," Lei Wuxing immediately said. Clearly, he understood Zichun's meaning. During this time, Zichun did not stop. He was climbing at a constant speed. During this time, an endless stream of energy appeared from the immortal stone and entered his body to replenish his body's consumption. The hurricane whistled and cut his body like wind blades. Zichun, who was walking in front, turned around and looked at the slightly pale Lei Lan. He asked, "How is it?" Lei Lan's entire body was enveloped in the light of the immortal armor. Even so, the cold wind still made her feel extremely uncomfortable. The immortal stone, which was originally the size of a human head, had already been consumed by 1/3. She shook her head, indicating that it was not a big problem and that she could still hold on. "Stand behind me. The wind will be weaker." Zichun looked up at the sky. He still could not see the end, as if it was really a ladder to the sky. He said again, "If the consumption can't keep up with the recovery, immediately change to a higher quality immortal stone." Immortal stones were divided into sizes and quality. The small ones were not of high quality and were very mixed. The larger the size, the higher the purity. This meant that after killing the immortal beast, the energy in the immortal beast's body would quickly condense and not dissipate too much, so the size was very large. As for the small ones, on one hand, the energy of the immortal beast would disappear. On the other hand, during the process of fusing with the immortal stone, there would be too much contact with the impure energy in the world, causing the energy to be mixed. Of course, this situation was also effective for the immortal stones mined from the mine. Under such circumstances, if the consumption could not keep up with the recovery, then before reaching the top, they might not be able to hold on. And once the energy was exhausted, no one knew what would happen next. After hearing Zichen's words, some of the Holy Spirit's faces showed reluctance. Immortal stones were much better than Saint crystals, and higher quality immortal stones were even more so. They might even be able to help them break through bottlenecks. At this moment, it was more or less a waste to use them to recover. Now is not the time to be frugal. You can ask the Holy Thunder Clan for the immortal stones you consumed when you go back. Zichen said in a low voice also, if you don't have any high-quality immortal stones, you can come to me to get them. The Holy Spirits who could come here were all powerhouses. Not to mention the price of the high-quality immortal stones, which one of these immortal armors was not worth a city. Everyone knew the importance of this, and they all took out high-quality immortal stones to refine them. At this time, higher in the sky, the immortal clan ruler said indifferently, you will have to return what belongs to this place in the end. A gust of wind fell from above, like real wind blades, and slashed towards Zichen. Careful. Chapter 3587. Lightning surged out from his body and merged into the Immortal King armor. The Immortal King armor emitted a strong light. At the top of the stairs, countless real wind blades flew towards Zichen, who was in the lead. Clang, clang, clang. Like real weapons clashing, countless sparks sputtered. The wind blades collapsed, leaving white marks on the Immortal King armor. Standing at the front, Zichen, who was only a 4-star, was under a lot of pressure. His energy consumption began to increase. His feet seemed to have grown roots, but it was also as if he was being suppressed by a divine mountain, making it difficult for him to move forward. No matter how strong his combat power was, for Zichen, a low cultivation level would always be his weakness. Except for him and Lei Lan, everyone here was a 6-star Saint Spirit. Buzz. The power of the Saint Bone was fully activated by Zichen. In an instant, his entire body was filled with powerful energy. The sudden explosion caused Lei Bai and Lei Ba, who were behind him, to feel a chill that was even more terrifying than a hurricane. The Saint Bone had appeared, and all the pressure disappeared. Lei Bai and Lei Ba stood behind him, protecting Lei Lan in the middle. Lei Lan was the key to finding the opportunity. After a full 10 breaths, the wind blades disappeared, and all the Saint Spirits breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the armor that was full of white cuts on their bodies, their eyes were filled with joy. If it weren't for the immortal armor, none of them would have survived. It was no wonder that the light from before would expel all those who didn't have the armor. The immortal armor was the basic requirement for ascending. But then, they realized that in just 10 breaths, their energy consumption was huge. At this point, no one had the mentality of leaving things to chance. They hurriedly refined high-quality, immortal stones to recover quickly. The same scene was playing out in every place. The ruler of the immortal city looked down and said indifferently, "Now, enjoy your feast." More wind blades fell from the sky like a rain of blades, carrying with them the sound of breaking air. "Be careful," Zichen reminded Linfeng once again. At that moment, countless wind blades had already appeared in his eyes. Instead of defending himself, he punched out with his fist. The golden fist light shot forward and instantly expanded. It was as if a mountain had exploded in front of him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sharp whistling sound continued to resound. Only a few of the countless wind blades were shattered. The other wind blades that were undamaged passed through the berserk energy and continued to descend. Boom, boom, boom. The others made their moves one after another. For a moment, all kinds of energy began to explode, constantly destroying the wind blades. Countless wind blades pierced through the violent energy and landed in the crowd. The Saint Spirits began to resist and unleashed the full power of their immortal armor. Suddenly, a wind blade that was about to land on the Holy Spirit's body began to tremble slightly. As it trembled, the wind blade turned into a strange-looking existence. Its head was like an inverted vertebra with pointed ears. Its skin glowed with a green light, and it looked extremely ugly. It held a weapon that looked like a long thorn in its hand. When the sacred spirits in front of him saw this, they were slightly startled. This strange creature's eyes revealed a cold expression. The similarly strange weapon in its hand directly pierced towards the other party's chest. The Holy Spirit's thoughts began to spin rapidly. It was trying to think of a way to kill Lin Fan. As for breaking through his defense, he had never even thought about it. Because it was impossible. Puff. With a soft sound, the indestructible immortal armor was pierced through like a piece of paper. The strange sharp weapon pierced through the Holy Spirit's chest and completely sank into it. The Holy Spirit's pupils suddenly widened. He looked in front of him in disbelief and looked at the strange figure. Whoosh! The other party's body disappeared into thin air. It turned into a wind blade again and flew into the distance. Life was draining away. The Holy Spirit's eyes gradually lost their luster. Streaks of white light appeared on its body and it began to disintegrate. This time, even the immortal armor was disintegrating. The same scene was playing out in several places. In an instant, the Holy Thunder Clan's main force lost nearly 20 experts. Cries of alarm rang out. The other Holy Spirits quickly dodged. For a moment, the entire team was in chaos. What's going on? Lei Wuxing looked behind him. His expression gradually turned cold. It's a strange creature hiding in the wind blades. Zichen's eyes flashed. His eye of destruction had discovered something. At this time, the wind blades had disappeared. Those strange creatures had also disappeared. There was no longer any abnormality. The next time the wind blades come, use your eye of destruction. Be careful. Lei Wuxing reminded them. Next, let's move forward at high speed. There was a great pressure on the stairway to heaven. It made it impossible for them to fly in the air, let alone leave the range of the stairway to heaven. Under such circumstances, they could only be slaughtered. Instead of that, it was better to climb the stairway in the shortest time possible. Next, everyone sped up. The wind blades above their heads also came as expected. Zichen's eyes flashed. Under the eye of destruction, he could clearly see many lights that were incompatible with the wind blades. Buzz. His sea of consciousness shook. The Holy Spirit's flying knife turned into lightning and flew out. After drawing an arc of lightning in front of him, it flew forward. Boom! The flying knife passed through the wind blades and hit one of them. The wind blade instantly exploded, and a scream was heard. The Eye of Destruction saw a ray of light disappear. There's hope. Zichen's eyes lit up. He controlled the Holy Spirit's flying knife again and used the Holy Thunder defensive knife art to destroy the strange creatures hidden in the wind blades. However, he was only one person, and the range of support was extremely limited. This time, nearly 10 Holy Spirits were still killed. Moreover, Zichen noticed that the moment the strange creatures attacked, a light flashed on the weapons in their hands. At the same time, the same light flashed on the target's immortal armor. Under such circumstances, the immortal armor was as fragile as a thin piece of paper. There was no defense to speak of. Damn it, there's something wrong with the immortal armor. Zichen couldn't help but curse. In the face of the current situation, he couldn't remind everyone to give up the immortal armor. Because once they lost the immortal armor, the countless wind blades would instantly tear their bodies apart. If they didn't wear it, they would immediately die. Wear it and wait for death. This made him feel like he had entered a trap. He looked up at the sky. Was this the purpose of the immortals opening the gate? Watching them die here one by one, and in the end, no one could leave alive. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Zichen's mind. Your perception is very sharp. As a reward, 2/3 of your people can stay. Chapter 3588. The hurricane whistled down. Looking at the countless strange creatures in it, Zichen felt a sense of helplessness. There was also a sense of helplessness. He opened his mouth, but in the end, he didn't say anything to remind everyone. Because this was a trap. Once they entered the Immortal City, they would be in the trap set up by the Immortal City's ruler. In this trap, they could only move forward. Previously, everyone only had one chance to retreat. That was for those Holy Spirits who didn't get the immortal armor and were fast enough to escape the city in time and save their lives. Otherwise, they could only keep moving forward, either live or die. Among the countless strange creatures, none of them attacked Zichun, nor did they attack the people around Zichun. Leylan was still safe. But it was different in other places. Death was constantly happening. All the dead holy spirits would turn into light spots and disappear along with the immortal armor. This was a massacre based on personal preference. It was like a butcher looking at lambs in the slaughterhouse. Whoever he wanted to kill would be killed. A battle that was close to a massacre lasted for a while before it ended. The Holy Thunder Clan had lost 1/3 of their members, just as the other party had said. And on the other 17 paths, all the forces had lost half of their members. They had lost so many people before climbing the stairway to heaven. This made the leaders' faces turn ugly. The hurricane disappeared, and the surroundings became extremely quiet. The survivors of the Holy Thunder Clan all heaved a sigh of relief. Zichun suddenly said, "Everyone, retreat." The crowd, who had just relaxed, was stunned and looked at Zichun in confusion. They came here to look for opportunities, but they hadn't found any yet. Moreover, they had just suffered heavy casualties and blocked a wave of attacks. Why did they have to retreat now? Retreat. All of you, retreat. Zichun said again, "Everyone leave. I'll look for the opportunity alone. You're not allowed to move forward anymore." His words were extremely tough, and there was an irresistible meaning. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. "Aunt, I have to admit that you're really smart. You know that only you can come up in the end. However, as your punishment, I have decided to deprive you of your only chance. That's why the other 17 people can succeed, but you have the greatest difficulty." The voice of the sovereign of the immortal city rang out again. "Furthermore, if you turn around now, do you think you can still escape?" Zichun turned around and saw that the stairs behind him had disappeared. The others also noticed this scene, and their expressions changed. Zichun's face gradually turned pale. Lei Wuxing asked, "Did you find something?" Zichun shook his head and said, "Keep moving forward. All of you have to remember that finding opportunities is secondary. The most important thing is to stay alive. Being alive is the most important thing." After that, Zichun didn't explain further and walked up. Just as he took a few steps forward, balls of blazing flames appeared above his head. It was as if countless flaming meteorites were falling from the sky, carrying with them a powerful aura. This time, let's reduce the number of people by half. At the same time, Zichun heard the voice of the city lord again. Behind the meteorites was a huge fire beast. It looked like a dragon with wings, and it spewed flames at the group. The flames were like viscous magma. They fell from the sky, pouring down on the group. It was abnormally terrifying. "Die!" Lei Wuxing roared angrily. His hands quickly formed a seal, and a huge lightning seal appeared in the sky, smashing toward the huge fire beast. Boom! The lightning raged, forming a terrifying shockwave that spread out in all directions. The huge fire beast's body sank down. In the endless sea of flames, Zichun jumped up, left the stairs, and landed on the back of the fire beast. He held the battle spear in his hand and stabbed at the huge fire beast's head. Poof! There was a sharp whistle as the battle spear instantly pierced through the huge fire beast's head. A shrill scream sounded. Zichun pulled out the battle spear, allowing the blood to spray on his body. He used the force to jump up and return to the stairs. The huge fire beast's vitality had been extinguished. Its corpse turned into countless specks of light and disappeared. The magma flames on the stairs gradually disappeared. Zichun looked back and saw that he had lost another third of his team. There was a hint of regret in his eyes. Lei Wuxing came over and patted Zichun's shoulder. "They all have backup plans. They are not truly dead. We will meet again in the future." Zichun nodded and composed himself. At this moment, they were like fish on the chopping board, unable to control their own lives. "We didn't reach our expectations. We have to continue." Hearing this voice, Zichun immediately raised his head and saw an even more terrifying flame. It was as if a torrent of seawater was pouring down from the sky. There was nowhere to hide. The group of holy spirits raised their defenses in despair, hoping that the immortal armor could block this wave of attacks. These holy spirits did not hear that voice, so they were still resisting. Zichun used the power of the immortal king armor to protect Lei Lan. He felt very helpless because he could only watch his companions die one by one. My lord, thank you for taking care of us along the way. You allowed us to gain so much. Although we have never said anything, we have always been grateful to you. This time, I will leave first. Take care, my lord. Lei Bai's voice suddenly sounded in Zichun's mind. I have never told you, my lord. I am from the Chaos Extermination clan, and Lei Bai is my big brother. When Zichun turned around, he saw Lei Bai's body disintegrating in the flames. He said with a smile on his face, My lord, I believe that this time, you will definitely be able to obtain the final opportunity. His body disappeared. This time, more than half of them were killed. After killing the fire beast, Lei Wuxing turned his head and looked back. There were originally many Holy Thunder Clan experts, but now there were less than 100 of them. Among them, many people's auras were very weak. It was obvious that they had consumed a lot of energy. He smiled bitterly and looked up at the endless stairway. He thought to himself, is everyone going to die here? The road ahead still had to continue, so the death toll was still increasing. Zichun felt a deep sense of helplessness in his heart. He could only watch as one of his companions died on the spot. Wind blades, strange creatures, flames, and giant fire beasts. Next, they appeared one after another, and the number of people kept decreasing. This situation kept repeating on the 18 stairways until everyone was dead. And these people who died would all turn into light spots and fly into the sky. There was a vortex here, emitting infinite light. It was formed by countless white light spots. Below this vortex, there were 18 platforms, standing in 18 directions. It was as if they were in a swamp, and their bodies were greatly affected. Buzz, buzz. The two of them activated the power of the sacred thunder. As the thunder surged, the pressure was slightly reduced. Immortal shows the way. Looking at the two people who seemed to be facing a great enemy, a cold smile appeared at the corner of the white-clothed person's mouth. A ray of white light flew forward and split into two. It was like a fork in the road, heading straight for the two people. The immortal shows the way was referring to the two of them. At this time, the white-robed man's white robes fluttered in the wind. He looked like a real immortal. Facing this attack head-on, Zichun looked serious. He took a step forward. The whole space trembled, and countless thunderbolts lit up the surroundings. Boom! Thunderbolts surged around him. He punched forward. It was the holy thunder explosion. The power of the sacred bone was activated at this moment, shining brightly. At the same time, a talisman of the sacred arm disappeared from Zichun's right arm. Without the immortal king armor, Zichun was only a 4-star cultivator. He attacked with his full strength. When the fist light struck the white light, it exploded with a loud bang. Boundless lightning energy wreaked havoc forward. Amidst the raging energy, Zichun's figure flew backward. Pa, pa, pa. The 81 ghost spirit holy talismans floating in the sky shattered instantly. Then, the ghost spirit formation was activated. 81 small ghosts let out ghostly cries and surrounded the white-robed man. With a bang, Zichun's body smashed into the ground. Lei Wuxing retreated in the sky and landed beside Zichun. He asked, How are you? Zichun got up and shook his head. I'm fine. The white-robed man looked at Zichun and said disdainfully, Without the immortal king armor, you don't even have the right to make me attack. At this time, the ghost spirit holy talismans were slowly descending. The white-robed man did not seem to see it. The ghost spirit formation caused a huge commotion. It was impossible for the white-robed man not to see it. However, he was so indifferent because he was confident in his own strength. This made Zichun breathe a sigh of relief. If one did not truly understand the ghost spirit formation, they would never know how strange and scary it was. Looking at you, it seems like you are not satisfied. Ants, today, I will show you the true power of the immortal tribe. The white-robed man's aura changed obviously. It became sharper and more terrifying. He pointed a finger at the sky. Punishment light. In the sky, the space seemed to distort and a huge vortex appeared. Two beams of light fell from the sky, heading straight for Zichun and Lei Wuxing. The immortal light was extremely fast and had a locking aura. In this place of pressure, Zichun and Lei Wuxing were not confident that they could dodge this move. Therefore, the two chose to defend at the same time. Lei Lan stood at the back, looking very nervous. Boom, boom. The immortal light fell from the sky and hit the two. In an instant, a terrifying aura spread. The entire space trembled and countless rays of light filled the surroundings. Lei Lan's eyes lost focus for a moment. The two beams of immortal light pierced through the sky and did not dissipate for a long time. The space distorted rapidly, as if it would shatter at any time. The white-robed man's expression was cold. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said confidently and calmly, "One dead, one injured. Too boring." Then, he glanced at Lei Lan. There was no need for him to live. Then, he pointed a finger at Lei Lan. Unexpectedly, the two beams of immortal light began to distort. Just as the white-robed man felt something was wrong and turned his head, he saw the two beams of immortal light shatter. Two powerful auras of thunder came out from the shattered immortal light. The other was black. Lightning surged, and flames burned. The other was silver, like countless tiny lightning snakes, with a violent aura. Zichun used the black flame technique. As the core, Lei Wuxing obviously had his own methods. At this moment, his eyes had turned silver. An unprecedented sense of power appeared from Lei Wuxing's hands. He said coldly, "Immortal tribe, is it? Now, let me see where your arrogance comes from."